Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the show. This is TFT Tinfoil Talk, and we're into July. I hope you guys had yourselves a great July 4th. I had a fun time this weekend. I was traveling around went over to Nagasaki actually, so that was quite the trip. But hopefully you guys had a good time, and it looks like there wasn't any major upsetting news that went on, but we'll take a look at that and we'll see how you guys did personally. But as usual, check out our links down below. We're very happy to have you guys here, and hopefully you will go ahead and give us your opinions on Twitter. Also, if you'd like to be on any of our shows, just let us know. That includes the Drone Recorder, of course, if you'd like to give a shot at that. But just very, very happy to have you here. And of course, as you guys see next to me, I have the mighty one himself, lightning rolling down the mountain like the fire of the Jerusalems, and bringing justice and hopefully wisdom to the masses. Thundero, how are you doing today?
I am spectacular, Chester. I am absolutely spectacular, my friend.
Well, that's good. Did you like
Last
my Jubas's joke?
oh no, I didn't, unfortunately. But
Damn it.
but yesterday in America, in at least large parts of it, was absolutely beautiful. So
Yeah,
a whole
no.
bunch of areas, they said, well, we're not going to do fireworks. We're just not. It's not safe. So people went out and bought thousands and probably millions of dollars worth of fireworks them damn selves and
Uh-huh.
just set them off all over every city that I've seen in the whole country.
Yeah, no,
It
it
was
was pretty
beautiful.
cool. Yeah, and the shot from Las Vegas, not Las Vegas, Los Angeles was probably the most epic. I mean, that
Yeah.
was a big fu to the mayor there.
Yeah, absolutely. Even my city, which is obviously nowhere near the size of LA, was lit up like crazy. Right over my house was lit up, like everywhere. It was a beautiful thing to see.
It was. No, I agree with that 100%. I just think they had the choppers up for the Las Vegas one. God, why do I keep saying that? Los Angeles one, which I think just caught everyone's attention. But I did see a lot of tweets and such about people doing it all over, and that's cool because why weren't you having fireworks? That's something you can do outside where it's kind of safe, right?
Because of the corona.
Oh yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
right.
It makes no. I don't know why people can't stand. It's not like when we go see fireworks, we all stand on top of each other like we're sardines in a can. No, we get in a big field and spread out and look up.
That's right.
What? What's the problem?
It's true. Yeah, but the whole thing, they the problem that's going on right now with that, and we could take a minute or two to talk about it, but is you're seeing a lot of these BLM leaders quitting and stuff like that because it's not about what it's supposed to be. It's just pure Marxism, and I think some of these ultra woke, well, not all of them, but some of these ultra woke news places are like, oops. And so they're trying to go back talking about the corona instead of all the other nonsense that's going on. And the
Mm-hmm.
problem is they're reporting all the new tests we're doing, which is wonderful, but what they're not reporting is the fact that the death rate is just dropping like a lead stone, which is great.
Correct. Correct.
'Cause it's all
And in
fine.
actuality, if they, these virologists and things were being honest, they would say that the tests showing that there's more people yet less hospitalizations and deaths, at least on a ratio, is incredibly a good thing
Yeah,
because that means that immunity is actually going up drastically and
yeah.
quickly.
Or it's not as infectious as we thought it was, and it's kind of already come down to the flu level of not infectious of mortality, and it might even be less than that. We'll see. But it's a good thing. But of course, the news won't tell you that. But whatever. Neighborhood fireworks outpaced the cities this year. Yeah, they did. I mean, I can't tell you that helicopter video I saw. It was just stunning, dude. It was
Yeah.
stunning. Yeah. And it was the coolest thing. I mean, even Ted Cruz came out and says, "God bless Los Angeles." I almost did it again. I caught myself. Why
He
do
needs to
I?
bless Las Vegas for different reasons entirely, but
That's true.
yes.
That's true. Well, I don't know why I keep going over to Las Vegas for it. Uh, but uh,
we
but I'm glad America did that because I mean,
needed it.
f you, man. Screw
Yeah.
you. I mean, a lot of people outside of America don't get it. And I've had Japanese people ask me this question as well, and I'm sure this week, when I get into my adult classes here in the middle of the week, I'll get the questions again. They don't understand why do Americans just wear the mask and just stay indoors unless they don't have to go out, which is what Japanese would do. And of course, that's the reason why we have under 1,000 deaths here, right?
Mhm.
But what they don't get is America is a country that's built on individualism, right?
Correct.
And you can't teach someone to be an individual, be strong and outspoken for their entire life, and then expect them to sit in a box for a year. You can't do that. Right or wrong, that's a problem. And it also kind of goes to the protests as well. I mean, we kind of get frustrated at some of the nonsense that's going on, but at the same time, that's America, baby, and I love it. I would never want to take away their right to not do it, right? And the people just outside America, they just don't get it really well. Even the Brits don't seem to get it.
Well, it's something I've noticed, and I've traveled all over the world. Even other Europeans don't get it. Like,
No, they
they
don't.
they just don't understand the idea, the very foundational ideas that unfortunately America hasn't always lived up to, but we've made progress towards. In that, the individual should come before everything else, legally anyway. Now that doesn't mean you shouldn't take responsibility and da 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 for your culture, and pay back into the commons that have helped give you a free society and all
That's
these
right.
things. That's obvious. You should do that. But should and is are two different things. America was built on what is, and what is the individual. The state is a construct of the individual. It doesn't exist without a whole bunch of us agreeing it does. And that as we
That's right.
see in
That's right.
places like Seattle, where a whole bunch of people agreed that it no longer does for them, and they did what they wanted for 3 weeks before finally the state outside of there, quote unquote, decided, okay, that's enough, and went and cleaned it up.
Well, it
Um,
was only when they went to her house.
yeah,
See,
yeah, I
yeah,
know.
yeah,
But my point is while this state power is incredible, it obviously is, and it's incredibly dangerous, as the founders understood. It's really all an illusion. It doesn't really physically exist like you do, like people do. And that's
sure.
something that it was founded. This whole country was founded on the idea that people matter, quite literally.
Yeah,
Um,
self-rule.
and
Yeah,
yeah, sovereignty. That's all it is. Now, obviously, America has gone way off that course, but I don't think the American spirit has. I think the people in this country, by and large, and I think we saw it last night, even in freaking LA, are still very much those same people. That spirit's still very much alive.
clearly.
It hasn't been beaten to death yet by either side of the political parties of the political spectrum, whether it be the Republicans who want to strangle it for endless wars, or the Democrats who want to strangle it for endless black grievances or whatever their grievances every other week. Um, the people in the country, which most of which don't even vote or get political at all, they still have that same frontier American spirit that it's not dead, and that's a good thing because it damn sure looked dead for a while. It looked like everybody, it was gone, it was over. The American dream. Apparently, we woke up and it was over.
Yeah. Well, more than half don't vote at all. That means that can vote, don't vote. True. But yeah, no, it is what it is. But hopefully things will start to pan out because we're seeing a lot of insanity. I mean, one thing about the lunatic left is they always eat themselves, right?
Yeah.
This is clear, and a lot of people are being real patient letting them do this. And I mean, we've had some. This was a crazy ass weekend. I don't know if you noticed. There was a lot of good stuff that went on. But there was also some crazy stuff, dude. Like that poor dude. He's coming down the road there with the I-5 there in California. No, not California, in Seattle, and driving a beautiful Jaguar, by the way. And he come around, you see these cars just parked in the freaking middle of the highway. He tries to get around them and takes out a couple of people in the street, protesters, of course. One died, and of course they've arrested this dude. No, he's not. They, of course, immediately. So white supremacist did it. No, it's just some black dude who was on the damn highway, and it was like, what the hell? He tried not to kill himself. But of course, they're going to probably throw him in jail. Why? Isn't it illegal to be walking on the highway? I'm pretty sure it is. Last I
Well,
heard.
especially considering when they actually succeed in doing what they do there, where they actually stop traffic and quite literally hold people politically hostage. I mean, let's
Yeah,
call it what it is. It's kidnapping. It's
in a
they
way.
hold them there for hours at a time against their will.
Yeah.
That if I did that for any purpose by myself with another person for hours at a time against their will under threats of violence, I'd be arrested for kidnapping.
Oh no, sure,
I've
they break loose
I've
all
heard
the
some
time.
reports that the city allowed them to block it off. They blocked off the roads up beyond. This was done by, I guess, by the police
Well,
itself.
clearly they didn't block them all because he was down on the
Well,
road. If you watch the
oh,
video, it's very
but
clear what happened. He wasn't
apparently
after
he
anybody.
well apparently he got on the road somehow that he wasn't supposed to.
Well, they probably
That's
just
what I've
didn't do
heard.
their
Now I
job
don't
well.
know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we don't
But
know.
like
Yeah, we don't know how he
obviously
got on yet.
he wasn't like, I don't think he was aiming for people.
No, he's trying to get around these. He come around a corner, and there's a bunch of freaking cars stopped in the middle of the road at night, no lights on. He's just like, oh my god! And he tried to get around it, and of course, there's people there. They stood in the gap. I mean, these are wow, brilliant people. Of course, I feel bad they died. I mean, we don't want anyone dying, but
Did both of them die? I knew one of
well,
them did.
one did. I don't know about the other one yet, but it's sad. I mean, it is certainly a tragedy, but I mean, the biggest tragedy is for that boy, right? I mean, what did hell did he
Yeah,
do? He didn't do
and he was
anything. He wasn't
apparently
a
not from
protester. He
here.
wasn't against them. He was just driving.
He apparently wasn't from here. He was from Eritrea. I don't know if he was a citizen, naturalized, but he originally was from Eritrea. So maybe he didn't understand. I don't know. I don't know. I know what the whole thing is, but
Mhm.
again, why were they holding a protest in a freeway that was blocked off? That doesn't even make sense on its face. But
No, it doesn't, yeah, especially because it's illegal. But anyway, it's just I'm just kind of making an offhand comment. I'm going to make show another thing here in a minute, but let me say hi to the chat. Hi, chat. Joe's in here. He says, not saying I want to join a cult, but I wouldn't mind hitching a ride on a passing comment right now either. Yeah, well, we're going to get into Heaven's Gate here, of course, what we're talking about is not unrelated to the topic. I mean, there's a lot of cultish behavior going on. If you don't think that these BLM and Antifa and these other groups that are going on right now, if you don't think they're acting in a religious manner, well, you're not paying attention because
Mm.
they are religion. It's the religion of woke or whatever you want to call it. It is certainly cultish.
Hmm.
Rodwell says hello. Joe says I appreciate the defiance behind the fireworks, but after over a month of them, I'm over it. Yeah, it has been going on for a while, but not at that level, Joe. It was a beautiful thing to see. Someone had a box of fireworks on the roof of my parking garage next to parked cars. Don't need to be setting off loads of fireworks at 1 a.m. in residential areas every night. Well, I guess they're protesting in their own way, Joe. Neighborhood fireworks outpaced the cities this year. They did. Local stations in Philly just ran an ad saying that COVID is affecting minorities. So just wear a mask. PA is still not fully open. Well, I mean, if you're in a position where you're in where actual virus is going on, well, you should wear a mask, right? If you're not, then don't. I mean, it depends on the situation, right? I mean, I live in an area that we haven't had anything. It hasn't come anywhere near us. So, most people don't wear it. But if I go up in the city and I go to a doctor's office or anything like that, I do, right? I mean, what's your guys' policy on the mask thing?
Um, I only wear it when I'm made to. If like I go on a
yeah,
private property and they make me, otherwise I
I
don't
think
wear it.
that's it. And that's why I do. I practice distancing and wash my hands all the time, but
Sure.
like I don't like something over my face. I really don't. I've never been like one to wear like a ski mask when I was avid skier. Even when it was cold as shit, I didn't do
Yeah.
that.
Well, yeah, yeah. No
Um,
one likes it. Of course, no one likes it. But I mean, if you're in a situation where you need to wear it, you wear it, right?
yeah,
I mean,
if they demanded I wear it when I go into a store, yeah, I have one around.
yeah. But I mean, if you went into New York City, where this thing is absolute rampant, you're not going to
I
wear a
wouldn't go
mask.
to New York City.
Well, I'm just saying. Let's say hypothetically, in some weird alternate reality, you had to go to Manhattan. Wouldn't you wear a mask?
I would
Sure,
kill myself
and I'd
first.
have an illegal gun in my pocket too.
Sure, sure. Well, there you go. That fixes it. Dillard says they lit fireworks. That will show them not to mess with the sleeping giant. I don't know. The people keep talking about the sleeping giant, laughing at it, mocking it. Yeah, and that's a great idea. Keep doing that. Might put an eye out. They might, Tolfer, Amen. It sure looked that way. Joe says, it was beautiful to watch. John continues saying, everyone lights fireworks. It's not a protest. Well, no, no. I think in a way,
It
the
depends on where you're
BLM
at.
kind
Like,
of took it as a kind of a protest thing to do. Yeah. Well, they
but I
got
mean,
them
like
from the targets that they
here
broke into. You know.
we got we were going like there were. I've never seen fireworks show as long. We have this Freedom Fest that goes around. And they canceled that.
Hmm.
There was 3 hours of fireworks going on,
Correct.
nonstop. In my
Yep.
neighborhood and everywhere else, everybody I've talked to, that's what was going on all over my town and the town next to me and the town
Sure.
above me. Everybody was shooting off fireworks.
Yeah, no, it was a statement. It clearly was. Yeah, we have to differentiate between these hood rats that went in and stole stuff out of the Targets and the WalMarts and things like that, and the clear just inundation of fireworks on the Fourth, because it was kind of a pushback from the people. I like it. I
The
think it's
other
cool.
the other thing is even if it wasn't an explicitly political statement, it's still implicitly a political statement because they've been telling people they're not allowed to do these things. If you watch that video from Los Angeles, the reporters are ripping their hair out at the fact that this is happening. It's so dangerous. I can't believe it's a $50,000
Yeah.
fine if they get caught and all this. It's like, oh my
I'm
god.
amazed that LA is not a smoldering wreck this morning.
Yes, I'm surprised there's still a city in LA
I
that as
I w- I
many
w- I
explosives
had
were going on.
I had my fingers crossed.
Yeah,
But anyway, Dillard says, "What a bunch of dummies! You got the black militias arming themselves, and the white people showing footage of a bunch of Mexicans lighting fireworks in the East LA."
Yeah, those
Uh, well, they weren't all
those
black.
black militias. I know what black militia he's talking about. They were walking around with 22s that had jammed chambers and
not
things.
fucking around coalition.
Yeah, those guys. Yeah. That's all right. Yeah, hey, you know what?
I'm gonna
They
I'm
have
gonna
a
let you out a little secret. You're not gonna win a street war in America with a 22.
no.
It's just gonna
Some
break
had
that to you.
shotguns. I'll give them that. Some had shotguns.
You would
A
get
ton of
further
AR-10.
with a
I did see
shotgun.
some crazy must spend a lot of money had an FN. So I mean, if
Yeah.
Scar.
Yeah, but they have a right to do that, and I think it's cool in a way. I mean, I understand what they're doing is just it's racist. They are racist, but
Yeah, the
they,
rhetoric.
I
I
know,
will fight for their right to use their
right?
rhetoric, but I didn't agree with any of it. And the
No,
right to bear arms, that's fine as long as they aren't shooting anybody. But when he went up to that guy in the car, that's when it starts to get weird. Like you're intimidating somebody because they laughed or they smiled. Okay.
The
and
best
this,
part is he didn't even intimidate the guy. He was like, "Yeah, whatever, bud."
yeah, he didn't,
Go ahead.
and they went and they moved on, and that's fine. But the thing is, though, John, that this isn't a black and white thing at all. It's not even a white and non-white thing. It's a white on white thing. The white people are working shit out. So you people of color just kind of stand over there and wait a second. All right.
The
Uh,
problem is a lot of people who are like explicitly like white nationalists or whatever, like actual ones. They do exist. There's not many of them, but they're out there,
yeah, I haven't seen them,
and
but I'm told they exist. Yes.
they are just apoplectic at anybody at all who's showing any deference to anybody who has anything to do with like Black Lives Matter or any of these groups at all. Even if those people aren't being riotous, aren't being disrespectful, are being very respectful and just normal people who happen to support a cause. That's insane. That's what children do. That's petulant. You're never going to get peace in the world if you're not willing to talk to people. Now, there's a time when you can't. You just got to just start blowing people away. That's just the reality. But the whole point of that is to get them to come to the point where they'll talk. If you're not engaging in any form of discourse or even attempting to, you're not better than those people. You're nothing. You're just the same as them.
Yeah, but
How are you any different than
yeah,
Antifa if you won't even talk to them?
yeah, no.
Did you guys see the Boogaloo Boys and BLM arm in arm walking
Yeah, but
in
see,
Richmond?
those aren't
And they're both
those
armed.
aren't BLM. Those are actual. Well, see, there's a problem. We got two BLMs.
Yep.
Those are like actual, black activists. Because the original BLM, which the Marxists are trying to, destroy right now, they're saying they're not actually talking about defunding the police and stuff like that. What they're talking about is, hey, we need to create organizations and situations where the police and the people in the community come together, get to know each other, so we can have a better rapport. That's what the actual original Black Lives Matters does and still did and still does. And those boogaloo boys or boogie boys, wherever they call themselves, and them coming together, that it's a joint agreement. Hey, yeah, we want to have the police working well in our country, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it was a good thing to
Correct.
see, but no, they won't report on that, dude. They won't tell you about it.
I have a question. Like, I've dug in this a little bit. Like the Proud Boys, Patriot Prayer, Three Percenters, they're all accused of being racist and white supremacists. And from what I can tell, each one of those organizations allows whatever color wants to come and protect America. At least that's what they're saying on the outset. Do you guys know anything different about that? That they are some sort of alt-right, or other?
No,
Right.
and that's one of the reasons why those people who are like that, the evil alt-right, that doesn't really exist. But that's why those people are like that right now. They're apoplectic beside themselves because people like the quote-unquote Boog Boys don't support what they support. They're not identitarians.
No, they're not. They're mostly
Are the Proud
libertarians,
Boys?
actually.
No,
Are
the
the
Proud Boys.
Boys are the Patriot Prayer?
No, none of them are.
I didn't think so
Well,
because
see, that's the thing.
I've tried to look into it and tried to find any actual stuff that isn't like apocryphal shit that you can't really find the root of. But what their official statements say that is diametrically opposed to what they're actually doing.
Oh yeah, Gavin McInnes, who's the kind of leader of the Proud Boys, he's a libertarian, like most of them are. This alt-right thing is just nonsense. It's just finger pointing, trying to create a boogeyman.
Correct.
But let me finish the chat here. Joe says, let's see. Dillard has called us a bunch of goobers. Sweet. Joe says, no, Chester, Philly was allowing protesters, but not businesses opening up. It's total weird hypocrisy. It's not just Philly, dude. Yeah, it's really
Goobers
weird.
are tasty.
Yeah, Washington D.C. as well. Chester, they are saying you are racist if you don't wear a mask. Well, I mean, I wear a mask when I'm supposed to,
It's
right?
funny. Speaking of that, just a few weeks ago, or last week actually, or no, the week before, when we went out like for Father's Day with my father and my two sisters, and we were kind of talking about how for some reason more black people have died per capita or whatever from COVID than white people.
Sad.
And the reality of it is, the reason is most likely anyway, and we're starting to see data that backs this up, is because of vitamin D. Because black people's skin just doesn't absorb vitamin D like white people's does, and we can actually kind of produce our own
We do
under the right
produce our own,
circumstances.
that's true. Yeah.
So, and vitamin D seems to be a kill shot for this thing, like in high dosages.
Really?
So that would make sense that
since I haven't gotten it, I take one every day.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense why they would be more susceptible to it.
Maybe. Yeah.
But when I said that, that's all I said, just like that. She literally started screaming and freaking out because she thought I was saying horrible racist things. I'm like, what are you?
Well,
it's a biological fact. What are you talking about?
A lot of people are jumping on bandwagons right now.
She ever heard of sickle cell anemia?
Yeah, right. But there clearly is minorities, particularly blacks, are seem to be more susceptible. So let's figure out why, right? Because that's not cool. I mean, it has
and that's
nothing to do with
probably
racism.
Why.
It's just, it might well be. I'm just saying that's not a point of contention. It's a point of let's get the researchers on it and figure it out, right? But because that's we don't want that to be a fact. We're going to help people out where we can. Let's see. The people in Georgia were calling for war and stopping motorists and making threats. That's not the same as a militia, false equivalency. Well, yeah. Now I get your point. I do get your point. But it was such a lame presentation of threat that, like he mentioned, that motorist guy was not even intimidated at all. He had dudes with guns right in front of him. He didn't even blink. He had a smile on his face the whole time.
Well, the guy that was confronting him actually was carrying two AR-15s at the same time.
At the same time.
And I was like, "What are you doing, man?"
Yeah, he even
there was
argued.
some other dude. Yeah, and there's some other dude that they caught a snapshot, and his gun was jammed.
Yeah.
And he's just walking along with a jammed gun. Brilliant.
Yeah, I get your point, and I understand their intention, but it didn't come off the way they wanted it. But if they're really, really, really looking for a fight, I'm sure they'll find one.
Well,
they're gonna go all
support
Matt Turner on people. Jeez.
Hey, what they want, if that's what they want, okay, we'll send you somewhere where you can build your own state. Fine.
Yeah.
We'll pay for it. Go on. Get out of here.
We already did it.
We'll do it again. Go on. Get out of here.
Go to Liberia. We set it up for you 200 years ago.
I thought that was a Liberia joke too. Yeah.
They even have basically the same constitution as ours. Just go on. Go have fun. You get your guns and everything.
Kenya
with the
and
same
Ghana
constitution
is offering to go back. I don't know why they would. America's so much better, but The funny thing is, I don't think because I've noticed that it seems that most, if we want to break it down to black or brown or whatever, but most black people don't get it and don't care anything about the nonsense. They certainly have a problem with the police and such, and I can understand that. I know Thundera understands that as well. But
Hmm.
if we did have a chunk of people go to Ghana, which I don't think they should, but if they did, it would probably help Ghana a lot because the people in America are far better educated than the people in Ghana.
Yeah, they could use some high IQ people over there. Help them out.
I'm just saying. I mean, I don't think they should go, but I don't know. Whatever. But like I said, it isn't a black and white thing. This is a white people versus Marxism thing. And like I said, we're going to work it out, guys. We do apologize to all the minorities in the country. We will get these children back in order soon enough. uh, just subscribe to the damn hydrochloroquine already. I agree. I agree. Libertarians doesn't even matter now. They call libertarians racist too. They call everybody racist, dude. John says, "Where the hell is the fact-checking Thundera account when you need him?" Let's get
Oh
Snopes
boy.
in here. If
Hey,
you're enjoying this
is
discussion,
John
smack
part
that
of
like
Via
button.
La
Hey, Jiminy,
Rasta?
what's up? Guns are guns. It doesn't matter if they're trained. You don't need to be a mall ninja to push a gun to someone's gut and pull the trigger. True, dude. No, it's not that it's not a threat. I get you. I saw that, and I saw the threat of it. But they have a right to bear arms and to carry them. They simply do.
Yes.
And unless they actually do something that causes an actual threat, then we can't really. There isn't a conversation yet, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So
Well,
I
not
understand
only
both
not
sides there.
only that. So just because, yes, obviously an armed person can be dangerous, but they're nowhere near as dangerous as a trained and armed person.
Yeah.
It's not even close. In fact, that's why we're able to use very small strike teams to take over huge swaths of territory from very armed people, because our people are much better trained and prepared.
Yeah.
In the American populace, which a lot of people make fun of, those good old boys, I promise you they're not going to walk around with a jammed gun and I think they're being tough. That's just
Oh
not
no,
going to
those
happen.
militia guys are pretty well trained actually.
Yes.
But because they have people, military and stuff that train them, you know. But we'll see how that works out. I get your point, and the media coverage was certainly focusing on the black dudes that were making the noise up front, but it wasn't all black people. It was clearly a very mixed group of people. But of course, the media wants to terrorize you and get that clickbait shit. Uh,
Here's a real question, boys. You want to talk about? You want to talk about? Let's get to TFT. Ready for some TFT?
yeah.
So Kanye West has apparently
Mm,
decided he's running for president this year. Let's see if he actually does. But he's claiming he is. Could this be like big old chess move by old Donald Trump? Could this be like? Because think about it. Let's say the polls are right. They're not. But let's say they are, and Trump's actually getting stomped right now.
yeah.
Well, what would take away almost all of Biden's vote more than anything? I don't think right wingers are going to vote for Kanye West. At least not a lot of them. But I promise you, those minorities that the Democrats pander to, oh yeah, they would vote for Kanye in large numbers.
I don't know. I think Kanye would actually hurt Trump. But
Oh,
but
I don't
no,
think
I
so.
get your point.
He's running a campaign with 4 months away from the election. That's
Well, he's Kanye. He
it's
has he
bold.
does have
It's a
some points.
bold strategy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It just seems like there's something at play here that I'm not seeing,
There
because
might be.
I think he's genuine when he says he likes Trump, so I don't see why he'd run against him. That seems
Yeah.
completely counterintuitive to what he said. So
Joe's
what am
in
I
the
not
waiting
seeing?
room, by the way.
Oh, is he? Oh, let me pull him over. Or
Yeah, I
maybe
got him.
Thunder got it. Yeah, Thunder's on it. I'm the boomer, so I
Yeah,
have anti-boomers here. Nick, no, bad Nick, bad. I slap you on the back of the hand, sir. I wanted to show something real quick. I mean, we are going to get into Heaven's Gate here.
I'll tell you who doesn't want Kanye to win? Taylor Swift.
Yeah, right. Damn right, John. That's a truthful statement right there.
She'll never get an MTV award again.
I'm going to let you finish, but right.
Yeah.
First executive order will be to take that shit from her and give it to Beyonce.
Right. Oh, poor Beyonce. But anyway, let me show this real quick. I saw this thing.
Beyonce, what a cow that woman is.
Beyonce, yeah. You know, actually, I was having a kind of conversation with my son this weekend because he came over and he visited with his friends a bit, and I took him back to Nagasaki yesterday, and he does like hippity hop dancing. What do you guys call that? Break dancing? I don't know. Whatever. Bee dancing, bebopping,
Urban
whatever it is.
dancing.
He's pretty good at it.
Urban.
Urban
They
waltz.
actually have a class here in downtown. Or in downtown Rivers, they have a class called Urban Dancing Stage 1.
Oh, really? Okay, cool. But
It was right next to us when we were taking our waltz classes for our wedding. They were doing urban dancing next door.
ah, sweet. Well, I mean, the kid's pretty good at it. He's actually a pretty good dancer. And you know, we were just talking about hip hop and rap music and stuff like that. And you know, we were kind of having a disagreement. Like he likes like Travis Scott, right? And I've listened to this Travis Scott, and he's not a very good rapper. And we were just kind of having a conversation about, for me, it's a musicality thing, I suppose, but something like, with Snoop Dogg, who has this just wonderful, smooth musicality to him, right? Or someone like Jay-Z, because you talk about Beyonce, who's made me think of it. He's got this like kind of very kid sound. A lot of them do, but with Jay-Z, it works. If you ever heard his songs, he's got this very kid. He sounds like a teenager when he's singing, but it just works for him, right? Of course, Eminem's freaking genius. But it was an interesting conversation with my kid about that. Because I don't get the Travis Scott thing. A lot of these modern rappers are pretty awful. Have you guys seen that Tekashi 69? Jesus, dude.
Yeah, they're bad.
Yeah, they're not cool. They
That
used to be
sounds
so
like
much
he's
better.
from your area.
Yeah, right. But he's like from your area, actually, south of the border.
Oh,
Yeah. I think he's from Mexico or something
where's
like
he
that.
at? I'll go get him right now. Where's he at?
Tekashi 69. But they're just not very good, man. I haven't really
they're
listened to rap in the longest time, but damn, dude.
It even phonetically doesn't sound good. Like just basic functionality when it comes to music. Rap at least used to be well produced. It doesn't sound that way anymore at all.
Although I can't remember the names. But
You know
my
what
son
happened?
did show
Rap
me a few that was
Rap
pretty
died
cool.
along with Nate Dogg. That's what happened.
Did it?
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he did show me a couple of new ones that I did like. But they're just emulating guys of the past, though. It
Yeah.
wasn't new. But nevertheless, that
Yeah,
wasn't.
I was looking at Twitter yesterday. Yeah, I was looking at Twitter yesterday, and the number one song that's trending right now is just a rip of 50 Cent's Many Men.
Wow.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Which wasn't even like one of the best songs on his track, probably one of the weaker ones, and it was like the number one trending song on Twitter.
Oh well. Each generation, I guess, is different. But and whatever. I didn't want to get into that big long conversation, but I just can't believe because to this Travis Scott guy, he seems to be the big hot ticket right now, and he's really not very good. And it's like, what rapper calls
That's the
themselves
guy that wrote
Travis
the Star
Scott? He
Spangled
sounds like a
Banner?
white guy from Texas. What the hell? It's weird. Anyway, let me bring this up real quick.
That's racist, Chester.
I know it is. I'm sure. I've been accused of that a lot. Now I found this here on the Twitter. I know. Don't look at Twitter, Chester, because I usually don't. But I just thought it was too funny not to. This is F the Fourth.
Oh,
So,
boy.
Let's see here. Happy All Countries Matter Day. Okay. Okay. So either you're being sarcastic or you're saying that
These people
countries.
haven't been to all countries, trust me.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But they're even being sarcastic or saying that countries cannot celebrate the individuality. Okay. It's not a black function without fried chicken. Dude, I like fried chicken too, baby. I don't know about that hair, but I think the rest of you is all right. Let's see. But I'm still
Chester
dress it up. You good. You go, girl.
Chester just admits every time he hates white women. That's all.
No,
Not a
just
fan.
shut up. Oh no, I had the Twitter did its thing again. Damn it!
I will say when the first time I saw that all countries mattered, I did get a chuckle. That was pretty clever.
Oh yeah, no, it was. I don't know exactly. Is this a girl? Is this a girl?
It's a gray alien, I think.
Human being, I think. I disagree. She's a human being. Sort of.
Okay.
You say so.
Are you showing something?
Yeah, I am. You can check it out in there, or you can
He
check it
whipped
on the
his
stream.
cock out, didn't you notice?
You just had the stream. Look at the stream. I found it very difficult to enjoy the holiday celebrating independence of a nation where its notions of freedom and justice have not fully evolved with the times. Well, maybe that's kind of the point you're missing there, Alejandro. America is an evolution in process. We have made great strides over the past 245 years from not doing it the way that we wanted to additionally because of Democrats, by the way. But little by little, we fought a war, hundreds of thousands dead. I mean, we've done a lot over that time to try to get to where we need to be. And isn't that a good thing? Isn't that something to celebrate? Right?
No, it has to be perfect at all times, right now, or else we'll tell our dads.
Okay.
It's real it is. Just
I love
petulant
this one
children.
here. This
Reyes
one makes me
Garcega in
laugh.
the chat says that 6ix9ine is one of the best out right now.
Dude,
I
I
don't
listened
think
to
that's
that
true.
guy.
I know for a
He's
fact that
not
Reyes
good.
Garcega is a super
Is that the
fan of
rainbow
Britney
grilled
Spears.
guy?
That is the Rainbow Girl guy. Yeah. I'm sorry, John. What were you saying?
I know that Reyes Garcega is a super fan of Britney Spears. He has no clout in his judgment.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go then. But no, actually, with the Tekashi 69 guy, I actually listened to some of his old stuff before he tattooed his entire face with 69. That actually wasn't bad. That was kind of like hardcore gangster rap stuff, and it wasn't that bad. But his current stuff's pretty bad. Me Grim Lecturing Travis Scott is pretty hot garbage. He is, dude. I mean, I don't listen to a lot of rap and hip hop stuff. I don't. But I certainly grew up with it. It was from my generation, right? And I'm a music person, so I love all music anyway. And mumble rap, I've heard of that before. I don't mind it if it's got a musicality, if it's got a rhythm, it's got a cool groove. I like it. I very rarely enjoy the actual things they're talking about because they're usually nothing. I'm cool. You're not cool. I'll fight you if you don't think it. This be my bitch, and this is my stack of money on my dick. That's kind of what they sing about. Well, I'm just saying. It's
How come
like,
you
all right,
haven't written rap before, Chester?
who me? No, I probably could. I don't know if I'm being any good at it. But I do know what I like and I don't like. And that Travis Scott is not a good rapper, dude. Although he had his most popular song he had, the thing that made him famous, the groove is pretty cool in that. It does have a good groove. But then that's very different feeling than his other stuff because that had that kind of smooth. I don't know what you call it, drug rap. I don't know what it was, but it was like an LSD type of rap sound. But well, anyway, I'm getting off the topic here.
Acid rap?
I don't know what you call it, but it was a cool groove though. But that's the only cool thing I heard.
I did have
about
a question though. What is that? What exactly is the conspiracy behind death cults? Is there even a conspiracy behind death cults?
Well, no. The conspiracy about the suicide cults is why they exist.
So I'm not laughing at you. I'm
Ah.
laughing at Grimlock. He is very upset about Mr. 6ix9ine in the chat over
Well,
here.
no, I don't
Does he
know
love
that
6ix9ine, or
Tekashi's
does he
going to live
hate
very long. To
6ix9ine?
be honest with you.
I think calling him a CSTB because he didn't finish his words. So I'm assuming he means cocksucking bitch.
Yeah, I
Is
think
saying
so.
he does not enjoy him.
Well, he's certainly going to be somebody's punk ass bitch, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, yeah, he went and did the thing you're not supposed to do. Just hit the east side of LBC on a mission trying to find Mr. Chester G. Ooh, Nick's getting all spicy up in here. Nice. Oh yeah, no, this is a good point you got here. George Carlin has better flow than any new rapper. No, there are a couple of good ones. My son showed me they actually were pretty good. But in general, you're right. Joe says, speaking on suicide cults, now that Ghislaine Maxwell is arrested, how many celebrities and politicians will be hitching a ride to Heaven's Gate? Well, I'm curious of how long she's going to live. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I want to see what the over/under is in Vegas and when she gets killed.
Mhm. I bet you there is one too.
Why don't
dude.
we take a bet right now on air? I got $5 on something. I got $5 burned a hole in my pocket.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, let's
there you
see.
go.
It took about a month for them to get to Epstein. So I'm going to go with early August.
I'm going to say that she has, just before trial, she dies of quote unquote venereal diseases.
Yes, that's true. The fast acting ones, actually. But curious to sums up rap perfectly. Chester. Thank you. Nixie says, just some guy uploaded a 20-minute video today about hate being the primary catalyst for most subversive groups. It's worth a listen. Yeah, I'll take a listen to it. I like it's just some guy. He's actually a pretty good commentator. Anyway, let me get back to this real quick before we go over to Heaven's Gate. But white people who say all lives matter are the equivalent of the founding fathers. Thank you. I don't need to read any more
And
of that.
that's definitely a false
Yeah,
equivalency.
that's an insult somehow. I don't know. I'd love being attributed some kind of connection to the founding fathers. Hanging out with friends, not celebrating. Okay, so you're hanging out on the 4th of July, having a party, but you're not celebrating the actual holiday. Gotcha, kids. Good on you, children. Let me see here. That cat is not happy. Oh, there it is. That's that video. This is beautiful thing, man. Look at that, dude. Look at that. I don't need the sound. Shut up. Right.
Yeah. Listen to a bunch of reporters
Oh, look at that.
screeching about how illegal it is.
It's gorgeous, man.
And
Look at that.
that's every single year, all the way from Montebello, Pico Rivera area, all the way to Anaheim and to like Century City. That's what it looks like every single year.
Is
Well,
that
it doesn't
true?
look like
Is
that
that
here.
really
It
true?
hasn't burned down yet, because I mean, Gavin Newsom said it would happen.
No, John. Seriously, is that actually true?
Ask Reyes Garciga, lives right there in Whittier. Reyes
Well,
Garciga.
let's see
Isn't that
footage.
exactly how it is every single year?
Let's see footage.
No,
I'm
what?
sure somebody.
I'm lighting
has it.
fireworks. I'm not filming myself lighting fireworks.
I'm not. I'm sure there's footage somewhere that's happening every year.
It
Well, I
may
mean,
be
let's
that
see it.
way.
Let's
It may
dig
be
it
that
up. Let's
way.
dig it
and,
up, John. I want to see the receipts. Come on, buddy.
Yeah. No. I mean,
It may be.
it
It may
doesn't matter.
be that
It's
way in
still cool.
California, but it's definitely not that way here. Nor is it the way in every other city I've talked to people that they live in that were lit up like crazy on every single street and every single block.
Stupid Mike. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's just a beautiful thing to look at. Ellen DeGeneres show was canceled already. Sweet. I never watched that anyway.
Was it actually canceled permanently, or is just?
I don't know, dude. They
I
love
guess-
canceling everything. So
I guess they couldn't keep it going as long as she didn't have the production value.
I suppose not. But a lot of them couldn't. It seemed they having a lot of trouble. They're floundering and stuff. The saddest one is Stephen Colbert, man. God, what a
I want
sad
that one.
state.
I want that one to just.
Yeah, but Stephen used to be so good, man. Used to be so funny.
Yeah, when he was play acting a conservative.
Yeah. But it was hilarious. We all know it was a parody. We get the sarcasm, but it was funny, dude. It was funny. I can go and listen to a crazy leftist comedian if they're funny. I mean, I love George Carlin, and that guy's off his nut lefty, right?
Yeah,
He's funny.
I mean, but there was a part of him that was also, he was a true liberal. Like, he thought liberally,
Yeah, that's true.
as
He was
opposed to
classic,
what
that's
has happened now.
Yeah, actually, the funny thing about it was this weekend, my son has found Kevin Hart, and he likes watching his stand-up, and so he wanted to show it to me. Oh, you got to see it, because I don't know Kevin Hart from, just from him and Dwayne Johnson, right? So I was all right, fine. So we turned it on, we watched it. It was entertaining, and I told my son, I said, yeah, well, it's not bad, but I mean, he's trying to emulate Eddie Murphy, and he's not even half of that. I mean, there's a complete difference. He's like, no, Kevin's the funniest guy alive. And I was like, yeah, no. Not
Yeah, go
even
watch
close.
Delirious and go. What was the other one? Delirious and
Oh, Raw.
was
Yeah, Raw.
Raw. Yeah,
But
have him go watch that and get
well,
back
no,
to
I
us.
did. I said, all right, cool.
Or
Let me show
Richard
you.
Pryor.
Well, Richard Pryor is freaking gold, dude. But I brought up Delirious, and we watched the whole thing. And my son, okay, you're right, I got it.
Or Red Fox.
Oh yeah, sure. But I mean, not busting on Kevin Hart. He's entertaining, but he's not Eddie, and he's clearly emulating Eddie. Everything he does on stage, he's trying to be Eddie Murphy, and that's not a bad mentor to look up to be fair. But you go watch Eddie. That dude, even what was he, 22, 23 when he did Delirious? He's smooth as shit, dude. Just damn, just on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had worked his set to perfection. I mean, I mean, it's not only. I mean, obviously, he played to black audiences a lot, but I mean, it transcended everybody. I can still quote some of those lines for
Goonie
you
goo goo.
suck. Yeah, like something like "Hey boy, look at my kind of them jeans,"
Sure. But I mean, yeah, Eddie's was a very, very practiced comedian. And the problem I think with Kevin, once again, I'm not knocking on Kevin because I don't. There's no reason to. But the problem I think Kevin has is he got too famous too quick. He'll never get refined because of it. Right? It's like, a perfect example of a modern comedian that's really become something is what's his name? Iglesias,
Chappelle.
Fluff. No, well,
I think
Chappelle.
Chappelle.
Chappelle is that's, but he's a little longer running, or maybe he's not.
Yeah,
But Chappelle is certainly smooth. But no, Fluffy.
yeah. What's his first name?
I can't remember.
Something. Yeah,
I think his name's Iglesias or something like that.
yeah.
But
And Fatty McGee is his name.
is that what his name is? But Fluffy, now we've seen him since the beginning of his career, right? He was on that comedy show he got kicked off of and did his little police donut joke, which was freaking hilarious. But we've seen him go from struggling to have a smooth show to he even has the point where he brings the drama into the show, which adds so much to the comedy. Fluffy is a badass comedian right now, right?
Yeah, and
Because he
he's not
worked
only
it.
good at like you're saying, he's not a good at setting up the joke and timing. He has ability to rock on tour, which is a hallmark of a great comedian.
Yeah, yeah, Fluffy's awesome, dude. I don't know why the chat has his name. Gabriel Iglesias. There it is. But Gabriel's badass, man. And we've seen him evolve into an absolute professional comedian, dude. But we're not talking about anything we're supposed to be talking about at all, and it's
That's
Thundero's
why
fault.
that's why I'm chuckling right now. We're almost an hour in. We haven't even mentioned a death cult besides,
The only one talking is you,
BLM.
Chester. Get on topic.
Oh, really? Is it me? All right, I'll shut up then. Fine.
Oh, I love it.
All right, let's see here. I'm still looking at this, John.
Oh yeah, Ray says yes. This is the case.
Oh, does he? Okay. Let's
Come
see
on, isn't
here.
it time to sterilize ourselves, get on our tennis shoes and tracksuit,
Right,
and
fine.
go and catch the comet? Come
God,
on.
people. All right, fine. Let's get over to it. Where is it here? All right. Where do I put it? Oh yeah,
Then
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me do it this way. I had something set up. We do like that. All right. So, Heaven's Gate. Now, the interesting thing here about Heaven's Gate here is Mr. Applewhite, as you see right here. This dude. A lot of people don't seem to understand that this was not something that popped up out of nowhere and that had its kind of fruition and it came to fruition very quickly. This was going on for decades and decades and decades. And of course, what we do know about Heaven's Gate is that. This is Marshall Applewhite is the leader, and his cohort and co-leader Bonnie Nettles, she had passed away, and he was getting old, and that's kind of when he pulled the death trigger. Really, is what happened, and of course we know it went out like this. Now, the interesting thing to me is I hear a lot of people talk about Adidas, but they're wearing Nikes, so whatever. But a lot of weird things happen in this. And what I really want to talk about with Heaven's Gate today isn't necessarily the end of it, because that's simple. They died. I wanted to talk more about how people get caught up in these things, because there are many, many cults like this, and there are suicide cults. Of course, you have the Jonestown, you have the Asahara people, the Om. You have the one in Nigeria, which the people died several years ongoing. It wasn't just one suicide pact; they had several over like a 10-year period, et cetera, et cetera. There are a lot of these death cults, and what I want to kind of get in today, if you guys don't mind, is why. How do you go and join an organization that leads to your death in that way? Now I know there's going to be a lot of comparisons, there's going to be religious comparisons and stuff like that, but it just seems insane to me, especially when we look at this Heaven's Gate thing, because the name of the group changed so many times over the decades. Their ideas changed so many times over the decades. And the end thing where they believed aliens were coming in the tail of a Hale-Bopp comet, and they needed to transcend themselves up, that didn't come until she died. And then he had to explain why one of the pure, heaven touched people that she was, his partner, had died. That's how we said, well, now we have to transfer our soul. And of course, this led to their death. I just don't understand how in the hell people get themselves caught up in this insanity. There's no consistency. It's not like they came out with a mission statement and it didn't change for decades. They're constantly adjusting their beliefs, but yet those people just stay on. They stay on. They stay on. And Heaven's Gate is just one example of it. There are so many, and there's so many ongoing right now. So that's my question, and let's get into that. How in the hell do people get caught up in these cults? How does that happen?
It goes back to the best movie quote of all time, Chester, from the first Men in Black movie. Person is smart, but people are dumb, stupid, scared animals, and you know it. Doesn't take much. It takes group pressure to get people sucked into something. There's a reason why these riots and all this stuff happens so easily, because it's easy to do when when that spirit's in the air, whatever you want to call it, whatever flowery language you want to call it. That's really all it is. And any cult is obviously going to be very persuasive, at least in their rhetoric and in the way they present themselves, or else they're not going to be very successful. So just like religions, I mean, pretty much every major religion, in fact, every major religion started off as a cult.
Sure.
At least to the authorities of that time. So the way you do that is you have to win hearts and minds. That old almost cringy slogan that we used to hear back in the early 2000s about the Iraq War. But that's reality. That's what they do. They go out and they find people who are vulnerable for whatever reason. Doesn't mean they're weak necessarily or even stupid. A lot of times they're not, in fact. You look at the data, a lot of cults are actually very intelligent people are in there. At least high IQ and stuff, but they get sucked into it because they have a low emotional center. I don't like the word emotional intelligence because it's an oxymoron, but they have a low emotional core. So they get sucked into it and they don't know how to handle it. A lot of them are often people who've never had a lot of empathy or sympathy. Maybe they're not exactly the most whatever, intelligent or beautiful. So when somebody fawns on them that kind of attention, they just fall for it. It's not that hard. Manipulating people is incredibly easy because people are stupid and they fall for it.
I suppose that's a simple answer, but the thing is, even if I say as an example, I was lonely and I found a group of people that I hung out with, whatever. Let's say furries. Let's say I decided to become a furry. And okay, they're weird, but they'll talk to me, and I'm having some fun and stuff like that. But if this group of furries, as time goes on, says, "All right, we all have to kill ourselves because the holy God is coming by in the next 24 hours, and we got to make sure that we catch his coattails," I would be like, "Yeah, no, fuck off, dude."
Yes.
I don't understand the thing. I don't understand how it goes from, all right, I'm part of something, and yes, it makes me feel more whole. But how do we go from that step to, yeah, I'm going to kill myself for an inane idea that this group itself has changed a dozen times in the past decade? I don't understand how you get there.
That's also pretty simple. George Lucas, the great philosopher that he was, put it quite eloquently in the prequels. Fear of loss is a path to the dark side. They're afraid of losing that wholeness that you're talking about. And when that peer pressure comes down on them, they just go along with it. Like, yep, I want to be with these people were there for me when I needed somebody. I'm going to go all the way. Now, obviously, not everybody will. Some people will just do it out of pure fear, like fear of actually like being reprimanded or whatever. But I think when you get people that are that devout to something, even if it's just a feeling of connectedness, or whatever it is, whatever that cult fulfills for them. People do things based on incentive, right? Whatever they're incentivized to do, that's what they'll do. Whatever everything you do something to get something out of it. Even if it's something you think is completely selfless, you're doing that because you know that makes you a better person. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that's how people are. Yeah, so when you see people in this cult-like stuff, the reason they're staying is because they're getting more out of it than what they value their life. Their life is worth less to them than the feeling they get by being with these people.
I get the first part. I don't get the second part. But the chat actually has got some interesting points. Let me catch this real quick, and then I want to get John's opinion on it, if you don't mind, John. But let's see here. Robot mechanic, awesome. It works in stages. Usually starts with "Here is why you are special." I've studied cults for years. Step two transformations instead of saying death. Yeah, no, they do seem to say that a
Yeah,
lot. You're right. You're right.
correct.
Devilish Borden says, but become a furry. But Chester, you already have a fursona and everything. That was a joke, devilish. That was kind of, the zinger. But John, what do you think about the general concept of one, people being in a cult, but more importantly, how do you take that step to killing yourself for it?
John here.
I'll be honest. I've never actually seriously contemplated killing myself for anything
No,
or
that's my
anyone,
neither have I.
even my wife or child.
Now, is it now maybe there's something you touched on there. See, you have responsibilities. You have a wife, you have child,
Correct.
right? Is
Grounding.
is there something maybe that's something these people are lacking?
I don't know, because it seems like you're more reckless with your life before you have a wife and child, not after.
Right. Yeah, I know, right. I mean, I know
I
with
don't.
Heaven's Gate in particular, they talk about them cutting their penises off, but it's often misreported. What happened was is the real thing with Marshall Applewhite is he's a homosexual man, right? And when he was working as the drama teacher at some university,
Ew.
well, okay. He made some advances to one of the college students, and he got sacked for it. And it seems that this Heaven's Gate was came out of him trying to deal with his sexual troubles. And what he did was he convinced a lot of these men that were part of Heaven's Gate to go down to Mexico and get castrated. That's where they cut
Well, do
they
you?
cut the genitals
I
off,
mean,
basically.
does that mean that you're thinking along the lines of like, if you're in like some sort of a situation where they have really horrible information on you, or they make you engage in depraved acts or something, and they have that information, you don't leave unless you kill yourself?
I don't know. It was, but it was clearly part of his psyche, and he convinced these dudes to do it with him. And that's another thing about Heaven's Gate that's very interesting. There's no sexuality to it. There's an anti-sexuality. A lot of these cults have a very heavy sexual leaning going on. Even with Asahara, that blind guy here in Japan that was part of Om, and of course they didn't suicide, but they went and killed a bunch of people. Um, he was this blind, weird fat Buddha, and but women just threw themselves at him. So there's often a lot of sexuality to these cults, but not this one. This one was the opposite. It was anti-sexual. It's interesting. But
Mm.
yet they killed themselves. I mean, but I guess you cut your balls off. That's a good reason to kill yourself, I suppose. He got sacked for it. Yeah, you like that joke there, Nick? Yeah, that was a teabagging joke. Thank you. They're starting to catch on, Thundera. They're starting to catch on, dude. It took them long enough, didn't it?
Oh, Chester has a very naughty mind. He just couches it in little what's the word, idioms, so you don't notice.
Yes, that's true. It is so true. But yeah, no, it's slick. You got anything to say on this?
Well, as a member of a church, a religion that has been long called a cult
Hmm.
from its inception up until now, I've encountered people who are cultish, I would maybe say, within my religion. However, because I spent a lot of time serving the church, I met a lot of different religions, and I did meet some people who were in a cult, and the women of that cult looked very similar to AOC. You know that big thing when they're talking, their eyes get really wide.
Oh yeah.
That thing.
Oh yeah.
They all had it, and every last guy who was like in their inner circle was this sleazy fucking dude. And then all the other guys they just kicked out because it was based around a sexual kind of thing. Which does make, again, you pointed out an anomaly with this particular cult that, the sexual component was taken away, literally.
Literally, yeah, literally. And they didn't even chemically castrate themselves; they just cut it off. But well, no, of course, people do call Mormons a cult, and in essence, all religion is a cult. And I guess I would ask the question. I mean, because let's take a look at Christianity for a moment. And you guys know right well that I think religion has a place. I think faith has a place. The bureaucracy of religions are often just awful things, but faith is useful. I believe that wholeheartedly. But let's be clear and fair here. Christianity is a death cult. It most certainly is. How many times have we seen large groups of Christians coming up begging, praying for the end of all things, right? It is part of the religion. It's built into Christianity, right? For good or bad. But Slick, you're in a perfect situation to answer the question though. Where is the line? What is the difference between religion and cult? Because I don't really know where it
Well,
is.
I don't. I think that it has to do with the compulsion. All right, now some would say who have become ex-Mormons, and I'm not even supposed to be calling them Mormons anymore because the current prophet decided we're not supposed to be called Mormons anymore. But whatever, I go with the nickname. What I would say would be like that compulsion that you cannot leave the group. That's one of the reasons why Islam bothers me so much. That you leave the group, you die. With Mormons, you are allowed to just leave. I mean, there might be some families that would shun somebody, I guess, but that's kind of own family culture. The church itself just says, love them even if they leave, and treat them like they're a child of God. That's the official church line. And again, the other thing I think would be, you talked about it before. There's kind of a bureaucracy to a church,
Sure.
as opposed to a cult, which usually has one like titular head, or somebody that holds all the reins. Like, so you take the FLDS down there in the South, which is like the break off splinter group of Mormons. That Jeff's guy, he ran that thing like a fiefdom, and they basically, women were kind of like a commodity, and if you were on the out, the older men basically took all the women. The young men were just kind of shunted out, and they just kind of wandered around the Southwest
Sure.
because they didn't have a home until they proved themselves somehow or got in, and that was very seldom. Yeah, that's a cult, all right?
Well,
And that didn't.
let's
Excuse
be
me.
fair. Women are a resource.
They are. I mean, traditionally speaking, yes, they are definitely a resource, and to be protected as such,
Sure.
because of what they can literally supply.
So what you're
Um,
saying then is when John Smith was in charge, it was a cult, and when Brigham Young took over, it became a church, a religion.
no, Joseph Smith was not. I mean, they had. You could say that, but once they got to Nauvoo, I'd say they started to be far more bureaucratic. But yeah, they still had some cultish aspects. I guess from a certain perspective, yes, because he was the prophet. He's still the prophet. Brigham Young is kind of there was a first schism there,
Uh-huh.
and then Brigham Young's faction went off across the plains. The larger factions, established in Utah, whereas the faction that stayed around Missouri and Illinois, um, they they were much smaller, but they also
Well,
actually had the wife of Joseph Smith decided to stay. She was done moving around because they
I
moved
see.
around
Well,
all the way. They went
Brig
from New York all the way to like that area,
sure.
Missouri.
Well, Brigham Young was more of an administrator anyway, wasn't he?
In a way, he actually, there was a Mormon militia that was there in Illinois, and they had a voting block of about 25,000 people at the time. That was a significant voting block, and he ran for not only like the local area. He was called the general of this Mormon militia, the Nauvoo Legion. He ran for president,
Uh-huh.
and because of that absolute voting block that he did control. I mean, there were people who broke off and were very vitriolic about them when they did leave, apostates as they were called. Um, they were feared. He was feared in the region for that purpose. Strangely enough, he never used that armed force to do any damage when they killed him. They hounded him from pillar to post. Finally, got him jailed, and then the mob came and shot him. Now there are different accounts from different perspectives as to who he was, but Mormons revere him, obviously, and Mormons revere Brigham Young. Although I can tell you all kinds of stories about him as well. And
Well,
I'm not, like I said.
he's
Go
the
ahead.
one that sent out the hunting groups to find women and bring them back, right? That's a Brigham Young thing.
No, that's just apocryphal. I've never seen
That's
actual proof of
apocryphal.
that, but he did send somebody down, and they did massacre somebody. The Mountain Meadow massacre. Those were Missourians that got massacred. I don't know if it was his. He did have a group called the Danites that were his security forces,
That's
kind
right.
of secret police.
That's right.
Reporter Rockwell was kind of the captain of that. Stealing wives, yeah, that's I think that's very apocryphal. There were plenty of women because we had a lot of men die,
That's
so it's
fair.
not like they're.
That's fair. But I mean, it is interesting here you talk about it because a lot of people would consider Mormonism, or at least in its original state, to be a cult, and I think you would seem to agree as well. It became something. Uh,
Chester,
yeah,
Chester, do you
yeah.
mind if I tell a quick story?
Please.
All right, because you're talking about cultish behavior,
Yeah.
and I had a little incident a couple days ago. I talked about it on my channel, but none of the people that watch your channel listen to my channel. But um, actually, we had an incident over here where people were going to be tearing down a cross at the top of our mountain. It's been there for a long time. We even had a big debate over whether or not we could have it on state property. We all pitched in money to buy the 20 foot by 20 foot plot of land that it was on so it could be private property and stay standing.
Yeah.
It's at the top of a mountain called Mount Rubidoux. I'm sure you heard of it. And
They want to tear that down. That's freaking awesome. Oh, not awesome. They want to tear it down, but but the cross is cool.
no, the cross is super cool. And I heard, and I'm part of a Facebook group, right, called Our Herba Valley. It's like one of those groups where your own hometown, let you know what's going on.
Yeah.
And somebody posted on there, hey, there's a group of people, there's flashlights up there, and there's banging going on. They're trying to tear down the cross. Immediately, grabbed my gun, threw it in the back of my truck, turned the ignition, and started leaving. I'm going to head over there. I'm going to kick some ass,
As you
right?
should.
So I'm riding over there. And right as I get, I was like, oh, you know what? Let me check to see if there's any updates. I realize this post is 2 hours old. And I'm like, oh. And so I pull over on the side of the freeway. I read. Cops have already been gone. They've been arrested. They put a hole in the side of it. You know what I mean? And then put some graffiti on it. But I missed my opportunity. But then I thought to myself, they had, it was 4 youths. They went up there with axes and they were trying to use the back of their axes to tear down the cross. And then I was sitting there and I was thinking to myself, okay, what if I would have caught like some errant axe to the back or something and died? What exactly was my motivation for going up there? Was it religious? Was it because it's like a landmark that my father used to take me to, and I've taken my daughter up on Easter Sundays for sunrise services up there, all that kind of thing? Is it because of that kind of like, significance, or was it some sort of religious zealotry that made me feel like I needed to go over there and do something right now?
Maybe it was just possessive.
I have to say, if I had been in your neighborhood, I'm not a Catholic, nor am I a traditional Christian.
I don't even know.
I don't have cross iconography in my house, but that is something that is a cultural. It's also community, and those people have no right to do that without the consent of the community, and that's why I would have gone.
Yeah. Well, John,
Right.
what denomination were you raised in?
But I was raised Catholic, but I'm an evangelical Christian.
I see. I was raised Northern Baptist. What about you, Thundero?
Independent Baptist.
Independent Baptist, yeah. So some form of Catholicism or Protestant things, which is pretty normal for America. I mean, America is a Protestant country after all. But yeah, no, it might just be possessive, John. I mean, it's something that's part of your legacy, right? And we want to protect those things. It's an easy thing for a town or a group to rally around, and it is dumb, dude. We see a lot of guys, young kids that are going out and destroying things just because they weren't raised proper, and they're out having fun. I mean, there's a big
And
element
that's
to
kind
that.
of the conclusion that I came to as well, because even my own religion would tell me, don't go and, pick that hill to die on when there are actual real things to worry about,
Right.
because you could just erect another cross somewhere else. And we also have just one other, iconic image, which is a statue of a woolly mammoth on the side of a hill by the 60 freeway. And I thought to myself, because I was pulled over in the freeway right next to that, and I was like, what if that was getting torn down? Would I care? But I
Probably.
don't think I would.
I
I
don't know.
don't
You
think I
might
would.
though. It's
Yeah, I would too.
I
I'd
might,
like.
but
I have a thing about art though. It's very seldom I think I want art torn down or completely destroyed. Like statues of King George. I wish we still had that. I wish we still had it somewhere as our
And I
heritage.
have
Like this.
a special connection to that mammoth because I'm the one that designed our city seal for Hoopa Valley.
that is
And I
awesome.
included the mammoth, and I spent time up there doing sketches and stuff of the mammoth to make sure it was in the seal and all that jazz. But I don't know. I just don't know. Like if I would have died, where would I have gone and why? I was having a crisis of faith on the side of the freeway.
Were you? That's interesting, dude. Because, but I get your response though, because I see a lot of these things here, and I'm detached, right? Because I'm over here in Japan. I've spent majority of my adult life in Asia, not in America at all. But I take it is offensive a lot of the things that I see, and I'm not even directly connected to it, so I understand the emotion. You know.
Right. But and then I thought to myself, is it just an opportunity because I am frustrated with the things? Am I susceptible just like everyone else? Have I been manipulated, and am I now acting out because I finally have the opportunity to act out?
Maybe. Maybe it's just pent up frustration and it's a chance to act. Yeah.
It's got me thinking about what you were talking about earlier with the cults, because like if something were to, like for instance, this Heaven's Gate cult, if somebody were to attack your cult, that would really just ingrain you deeper and deeper in it.
Yeah, no, it would, wouldn't it? It would. And it's odd that you bring that
And
up.
so like when you say the more outrageous the behaviors of the cult and the more outrageous people say your cult is, the more you want to say they're just so far gone, they just don't see it.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And I know this seems to be off topic, but I don't think it is. I last night I was watching when we got home from Nagasaki, I was watching some compilations of Karens. And my wife eventually I'm out, and she left the room. But I thought it was hilarious. But one thing I noticed is a lot of very cultish behavior coming out of people, right? And I noticed in a lot of those videos, what they were calling Karens wasn't Karens. It was just young people misunderstanding that you've broken a rule in an area. This person wants the rules to be followed, and you're just being a bully. These kids have no respect whatsoever today. But it was just funny watching the Karen stuff. And there's another thing came out I wanted to ask actually. When I was a kid, and some of you guys are around my age, but when I was a kid, where I grew up, and I grew up with all different kind of races, stuff like that. I had a bunch of black friends. I even had a couple of Asian friends. There weren't many of them though. But one thing I never ever heard was people throwing out the N word. Not even the black people. I guess that came later with gangster rap or something. I don't know. But no one really used that word because it's mean spirited, right? But I noticed when watching these Karen videos how many people were using the N word in the harshest term, and I was like, what the hell happened? What is this that's going on? Because like I said, when I was a kid, no one did that. That was just mean. But I've seen so many of these Karens just throwing out the N word without any concern. Now I'm not going to get into the Karen conversation because that could be a TFT all on its own. But I'm just it seems that there is some cultish behavior going on in that as well. And how did we get to the point that people feel so free to throw out this really hateful term? I was a bit shocked by that more than the other
Well,
stuff.
I'm like you. I never used it when I was coming up.
No one did.
Like I didn't use it. I think the only time I ever did use it was like in like a quote or something like that from a movie, something like that. And I didn't use it like as a pejorative. I just they said that, and usually was with the not the hard R. And again, like I stopped. about, and I was thinking, being stupid, now in retrospect. Things like I never used cotton picker either. I mean, as calling somebody that, because there is some onus on that, right?
I
And
guess.
I
Yeah.
grew up with people saying that
I will
all
say that
around me.
I have used that word many times, and
Well,
every
and
time I
again, like,
used it is because
depends on where you live,
I wanted to start a fight.
right? And it depends on where you live.
Oh,
But then again, like, there's the thing that's become out and out where, like, um, black people have now used it so much, and they've made it their own so much, and they make it so tempting for, I guess, certain white people to use, that now they're using it as it in the old way, as a pejorative, and
yeah.
I think that's a consequence of black people not getting out of their own way.
Yeah, no, it's not a good
Learning that
it's
all
not a
this
good
does is perpetuate
yeah.
the stigma.
Well,
Um,
one of the Karens actually said that. She actually said, "Well, you guys use it all the time." There's and one thing I also noticed about the Karens in these compilations, they're all around my age.
it's interesting, like, but I mean, as for something it's that's not in my vocabulary. I'd rather use another way to make somebody look the fool.
Yeah, at least
No, that's the
John.
thing. The thing is, it was completely forbidden for anybody
Oh
other than
yeah,
black people
absolutely.
and where I grew up to use the word. And like I said, when I used it, it was because there was already a fight of brewing, and I needed for it to pop off, and that was the catalyst.
Yeah, no, I can understand the use of it that way, but I just was really surprised, John, because I it was just never used, and but now it seems to be so rampantly used, and I didn't
I
understand
noticed
that was
it. I
going
noticed
on.
it about 6 or 7 years ago. I started hearing a lot of younger people saying it just as part of normal conversation. I was like, and a lot of little Mexican and white kids too. I was like, what? You guys are crazy.
Yeah, so maybe so I guess my question is there an argument that we're seeing from the black people that are saying that racism has actually grown in America? Is that true? Has it grown
No,
since when I was a kid?
no.
I think they might have fertilized it themselves, though.
I think what you're seeing is a whole lot of young people who are told constantly what they're allowed to say, and they're rebelling against that. I don't think most of them have actual racist tendencies in their hearts or think less of people because of the color of their skin or treat people badly because of the color of their skin. I do think, however, people are getting real tired of being told what they can and can't say, so they go to, like John said, they go to the thing that they know will cause the most harm. And that's
Well,
a nuke. You drop that one on a black person, you're asking for violence.
Yeah,
see,
That's
and
what
the
you're
The
doing.
one that
very
bothers
first
me
fight
the
I ever
most
got
about,
into, the very first fight, that was the reason. And
Yeah.
he had called me something along the lines of a jumping bean or something, and then I threw that down, and it was on in the locker room, and I got my ass kicked because his name was Big Willie Johnson for a reason.
There,
yeah.
it's just like my generation. Equally shots. It's just like my generation. We grew up calling everybody, the F word when we were playing like video games or whatever. Just just ragging on our friends that way. Well, now it's forbidden, right? You're not allowed to use that word either. Well,
see,
what do you think these kids do all the time when they're playing video games or playing sports with each other? It's constant. It never stops. But they think they've won this battle because they've taken it out of what would be considered mainstream culture.
Oh,
Well,
you're
mainstream
talking about the
culture
bundle of
is
sticks word.
yes,
Oh, okay.
mainstream culture is just it's just the nice face that we put on. The real culture is always underneath that, and it's always where people are a lot more honest and say what they actually experience or want.
well, you see, the thing that really bothers me, I don't mind, like, editing some things like that, because again, it seems like you're dropping to the lowest common denominator. The thing that really annoys me about the current culture is that I cannot say that I don't see color, that I try to be color blind, that I try my best to judge people's character, and that for some reason has all of a sudden become racist. That bothers me more than any of that other shit, because I've worked my entire life to be a good person, just to not care about what you look like. That's what you do, you know.
I didn't have to work at
And
it all.
well, I mean, and here's the thing, like, but I mean, I'm not saying work at it, but I mean, like, that's been, that's the thing I grew up trying to be, you
It's
know.
don't take it so seriously. That's a little bit more of that sideways shade stuff. Don't worry about it. It's all
But everybody has their biases, all right.
right.
I mean, if I see a 1%er biker gang that's all white, I'm going to be really fucking careful around those guys. There's a reason. All right.
Yeah.
Same goes for other people. What I'm
Wait.
saying is that when somebody tells me I all of a sudden that my color blindness, that I'm judging people not on their color, not on their other immutable aspects, that's wrong. That's racist. That just pisses me off.
I think one of the main problems we have with our society is we've allowed people who behave in a way that is very feminine to control the narrative for too long. Because men understand there's a line between just, banter and talking shit, and then when you're saying stuff that's going to lead to violence. Like, we know that.
Big Willie
But
Smith
women
knows
don't
it, too.
get that. Most women don't get that. They just simply, and a lot of men don't get that because they've been, cognitively feminine or whatever. And I think that's a huge, huge problem that we're seeing. So now nobody knows what the rules are anymore. White people know they're not allowed to say the N word. They're not allowed to say the F word. No one's allowed to say the R word in a lot of places now, or you'll get fired. Like, there's all these ridiculous rules that keep moving the goalposts. So all you're seeing is people just like, no, I'm not going to continue to go along with this. F you, you F and F, right? Like, that's just all it is. It's just pure rebellion. That's all it is. People pretend that it's more than that. It's not. Now, I do think that the country is shifting more towards a very racialized environment than it was when I grew up anyway, because they keep focusing so heavy on the racial problems. Not that there aren't any, of course there are, but when you make them that your platform, like the DNC is apparently doing, that's all you're going to get. If you're a hammer, when you see everything like a hammer, everything looks like a nail, or whatever that saying is. But that's completely true. I like Jesus says, "Seek and ye shall find." Whatever you're looking for, that's what you're going to find. That's just the truth. So if you're looking for racism everywhere, I promise you're going to find it, or you're just going to turn things like what Slick's talking about that aren't racism into racism. Because you have to have that racism. You need it because that's the thing that explains your worldview and makes your worldview legitimate. And that's all they're doing. So they take things that are out of context, like, a kid playing a video game and calling somebody that word while they're playing a video game to prove that everybody hates gay people or something. And that's obviously not what that kid means. The context of his intention of that word is not the same of the context of a Westboro Baptist Church person using that word. Those are two totally different things, but we have to pretend that they're the same because they need an agenda to be fulfilled. That's all it is.
Those guys come up a lot. But no, I get your point. I want to catch up with the chat here because they've got a lot of things to say. It is interesting. I much prefer to take as much time with a jagoff as I can and just insult the hell out of them without them even knowing it. It's more fun. I kind of did that to an old Japanese guy yesterday, actually, but I did it in a friendly way. I went to buy one of those permanent match Zippos, right?
Yeah.
And this nice little quaint little mom and pop store. And while she was etching my name on it, his wife, he gave me a little magic show. It's just part of his shtick. He's trying to build up business, and I was like, okay. So he put down a 4, a 5, and a 6, and he says, okay, what is the total then? Of course, what he's doing, he's trying to distract me by looking here and not seeing what he's doing in his hand. I get it, And I went along and I said 14. Threw him right off. He's like, oh well, it could, I got him real good. It was fun. Because I guarantee you no one has ever done that to that poor guy. But it was fun. Anyway, let me read the chat real quick. Let's see here. You guys really said a lot. Wow, I gotta go way back, dude. Is Fanspeak a cult? Sure.
Yes.
Give me all your women. Heaven's Gate was cute. When I think of religious cults and insane preachers, my go-to is Henry Kane from Poltergeist 2. God is in his holy temple. That was a great movie, dude. So, is this talk about being a fanatic versus just belonging? Well, I think that's what we're talking about. I mean, Heaven's Gate. There's the idea of these suicide cults is why in the world would you be part of a cult and then take it all to that ultimate destination? Why would you do that? And we're kind of looking at a lot of the cultism cultishism-ness that's going. Wow, that's not a word. That's going on in the world today.
That's not even close to a word. In fact.
It is now, baby. Did he just say
English,
Naboo?
English teacher, everybody.
Right.
English teacher.
I said Naboo. What about it?
though they thought you said Nabu, not Navu. But I wonder if Lucas took the Mormon Navu and to make his Nabu. He steals everything.
No, everything he's
I don't
ever done
know.
is original. Come on.
I don't know. Navu and Nabu. I don't know how the correlation would
Well,
fit. Actually,
it did look like that quintessential paradise of the Mormon book, right?
yeah, Nauvoo was a drained swamp right on the Mississippi,
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
true.
not really that much. I've been
That's
there.
true.
It's not that much of a paradise.
No,
I'm
no.
telling you.
Anyway, yeah, he said Navu, guys, not Nabu. But what Slick said, I'm angry about statues right now. Yeah, we all are, dude. It's bull. Even if you can understand some of the Confederate stuff, they don't care. They just see a statue and attack. Dude, they burned down a frickin' deer.
Yeah.
It,
It's an elk.
oh, whatever. An herbivore. Okay.
Yes. Some
Uh,
random herbivore had to be burned in effigy for Black
You know,
Lives,
deer
apparently.
and elk taste completely
They
different.
do. It's fair enough. I have been elk hunting.
Yeah, elks are
The
huge
Lutherans
too.
still in. Good coffee, free donuts. All right. Awesome. So I actually don't know much about Lutherans. I guess it's just kind of taken off the original Martin Luther's Protestant formation, I would guess, right?
It's like German Catholics.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I mean, Martin Luther did create Protestantism. He's the catalyst. So we've had two religious Martin Luthers that are well remembered. It's interesting. Uh, let's see here. Uh,
I think it's hilarious though that the last American icon politically anyway, that will probably be remembered long after the presidents of now, maybe besides Obama, is named after a white guy, Martin
oh, Martin
Luther.
Luther. Yeah, yeah. Well, see, the thing is, if you actually ever paid attention to what Martin Luther King said, um, he he would really not like what's going on. This is not what he envisioned at all. But I guess that doesn't matter.
Black Lives Matter sure love to cherry pick his statements out of context
Oh,
to
they do.
justify their
They most
bullshit.
certainly do. Yeah. You'd be surprised at how many magnificent buildings have been torn down in the U.S. Yeah, no, dude, they've been quite successful. Now we know it's mainly seems to be almost totally in these democratically run cities, which allow them to run wild or rush hard. But it is sad, dude. This is like cult versus culture right now. It is, isn't it? Yeah. Victor said he was raised in the projects. Good enough, dude.
On that note about tearing buildings down, the only thing I ever signed a petition as when I was a teenager that really gave a shit about was this. I went to Salt Lake, and in Salt Lake, there's a city hall, right? It's pretty iconic if you want to look it up. I mean, besides like the Mormon temple there, it's probably the most iconic building there. And they were talking, it looks like a castle, and they were going to tear it down. And it was the only thing, and I was 17, and I went up there and I passed out signatures to get people to to complain about it because it was one of those few things. And in Utah, there's very few things. Most of the stuff that we have now is fairly new, and so the old stuff is kind of important to me. That's why I love the old like post-war houses that are made of brick. They're the toughest thing that was built in afterwards because everything else, unless you have a lot of money, is basically made out of framing and siding, and that's about it, and some drywall.
Well, icons and statues and things like that, they serve a couple of functions, right? One of them is to make you think, I suppose. The other one can be to run propaganda for sure. And the other thing is just culture, right?
Well,
And
that's the culture. That's the important one to me.
Yeah, well, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to tear down culture. That's why they burn down a statue of an elk, because they're trying to destroy culture, right?
Did they destroy the elk or just somebody carted it away? I know they had the stump of it left, but did they
I
melt it? What
From what I
happened with it?
understand, it's done. Yeah,
Oh
but I don't
crap!
know 100%. Everyone is online getting more and more angry. Yeah, that seems to be the case, dude. Nick, Joe says there's a new news article that just came out about Frederick Douglass's statue being taken down. Frederick Douglass. The interesting thing about that, when they talk about, when people talk about Black history, they always talk about Rosa Parks. They talk about Frederick Douglass. They talk
Booker T.
about
Washington.
Booker T. Washington. They talk about that lady there that did the Underground Railroad. I forget her name. But they talk about these characters, but they never talk about all of the 19th and 18th century black heroes, and I don't understand why. There's so many of them, but they never
We
bring
should
them
have a
up.
whole bunch of statues of Thomas Sowell right now. I'll tell you what.
Well, then he's a modern treasure for sure. But it is weird. It is weird. But anyway, let me keep trying to get through the chat here. Insane or planned? It's what's happened in other countries to destroy their history. No, this is a planned Marxist takeover. It looks just like so many of the other countries we just saw recently in Venezuela in the past so many decades. It's the same thing that happened there. The interesting thing too about Marxism in America, if you look at Marx's plan, what he said needs to happen to create the utopian state, we've actually checked a good half of his boxes already. With paid for education, Medicare, all these kind of things are very Marxist ideas. I don't even know if America understands that we're kind of already half Marxist already. Yeah. Let's see. Roger says next Sunday, TFT Karens. That'd be fun. Chester, we were more civil in the 70s and 80s, Eric says. Well, we were too busy having sex, Eric. That's why. Maybe that's the problem with the world. Maybe more people just need to get laid, Eric. Maybe that's it. What do you guys think about
With the
that?
feminists now, you'll be accused of all kinds of things. If you don't please her properly.
Well, I
So
said
being an
that before.
incel is that
Go ahead, John.
ruining the world. These incels.
The incels are ruining the world. It's sad, John. It's sad. Whatever happened
They
to the
can't get laid. That's the problem.
Well, when I was younger, we would, if we had a friend that hadn't had a girl or something yet, we would work to get him a girl, and the girls would help
Yes.
us,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, girls
There's
are really
no.
good about that. They're
Yeah,
born
they are
fighters.
actually.
They were really good about that. Well, because there's girls that don't have
there's no
boyfriends too.
camaraderie anymore for most people. They're you're talking about people who are effectively fully grown children in a lot of ways. Like they don't have anything besides pop culture as iconography, as a culture, as an identity, I guess would be the right term for a lot of these people. And when you don't have anything to ground yourself, you're not going to attract a mate. Women like certainty in their men. They like strength and what they can feel they can put roots into. Or they just like guys to be hot and sexy. And they're usually not that anyway, or else they wouldn't be incels. So I think a lot of the issue you're seeing is a just complete lack of identity for a lot of these people. So they try and fill that void with pop culture consumerism and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. It's vapid and weak and is fleeting, incredibly fleeting.
Well, I get your point, but I am kind of curious with the younger people in here. I mean, with the point that Eric and I were making, or I was making, I guess, but Eric, I know he agrees with me, is, like I said, when I was younger, we would help our friends or the people around us find relationships. The men and women would work together to do this. This isn't going on anymore.
It is just not as much as it used to. A lot of people don't really even have a lot of like in-person actual friends. There's a lot of people who have a lot of acquaintances, people they might hang out with, but not somebody they could actually talk to, right? Not a friend who will tell you the truth even if it hurts your feelings. Because people are so fragile, especially people my generation, millennials. Fragile. They talk about this white fragility nonsense. No. The whole generation's fragile, sweetheart. Every single one of them. You can't give them any sort of criticism, or else they turn into snowflakes. Half of them. You can't banter with them because they take it personally. I don't see it getting any better either because social media just makes it worse. Because all that is a narcissism generator, and the reason why these people act like this is because they're self-centered narcissists. They have very little conceptualization of others around them. So when somebody says something to them that might be a little crass or mean, a lot of them can't handle it. They just don't understand how anybody could have a negative view of them. They can't conceptualize it. And when that happens, they just fall apart. And when you're like that, when you're that fragile, quote unquote, using the left's term, you're not going to find anybody. No woman wants that. Women don't want weak people, and no
No.
man wants it either. Man,
No.
I don't want that either. If I can't banter with you, or even sometimes maybe we get in a little bit of an argument and get a little, we get in an argument, and you just break down and can't take it. What's that? Like that's nobody wants to watch you cry. Get out of here. Like it's not appealing.
Yeah, now that's interesting you say
These
that.
girls nowadays are just constantly threatening to jump out of a moving vehicle. I don't get it.
Oh, well, have at it then. But actually, we were having that kind of conversation with my son the other day, and I forget where we were talking about it. It was something about I don't know. It was something about arguing and it was Kevin Hart. We were watching Kevin Hart thing, and damn, this guy has horrible relationships. Of course, he's a comedian; he's playing it up, but damn, dude. I mean, that's he was in a toxic relationship. That guy. But and I was just my wife and I were laughing because my wife and I never fight. We've never had arguments. We always got along. And my son laughed and he says, you're super rare, right? Because all my friends' parents are arguing and yelling all the time. That's why half of them are divorced. And I was like, what? Do you guys
Yeah.
argue with your wife? I never argue with my wife.
I wouldn't want a wife who wouldn't argue with me. I
Why?
love it.
What is there to argue about?
Because I'm not always right, Chester. Contrary to popular belief, sometimes I'm wrong. It's rare, but it does happen.
Yeah, but you don't have to argue about it.
Well,
I've certainly
when
been
I say
wrong many
argue,
Every time a blue moon comes around, there is a huge row.
yeah.
Oh no, I've been wrong before, but there's no need to fight about it.
When I say argue, I don't mean fight. I just mean have a disagreement. You can't even have that. Why do you think people are like the way they are on Twitter? You say one thing out of place, and they'll try and ruin your whole life. Even if it's not out of place, it's just they misinterpreted it. They'll try and ruin your whole life. You don't think that's in the real world too? You don't think people are terrified of talking to people? They absolutely are.
That seems to be a problem. Yeah.
It's so weird when you walk into a place. Even here, it's not so bad here, but I see it from other people. You walk into a place, you just say hi to somebody, right? You walk by, hey, how you doing? Well, that doesn't happen. People don't even have that much community anymore. Just common decency to greet each other. Not always, not all, but there's a lot of it.
I talk to people all the time.
So you do. How about over in California, John? Are people cordial and friendly?
They are.
They are.
I want to say I've had a couple of experiences, but the thing is, my experiences are a little bit unique because I'm kind of like if you see me in person, I'm not as good looking as I appear on camera.
Oh.
I'm a very abrasive looking and I have an abrasive voice in person, and I get a lot of flack for it from people.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the camera adds 10 charisma points.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you have a very masculine look about you, John. That's not a bad thing.
Oh, it is now.
I have a very severe face, Chester. People notice.
Oh, do they?
He has resting grump
Well,
face.
I think you're beautiful, John.
RPF? Little RBF?
Resting bitch face. No, he doesn't. He doesn't have that at all.
My wife has told me, like, she's never in her life has my wife ever like been stopped by the police, and ever since she started dating me 10 years ago, like she's had more interactions with people stopping and asking, just, what are you doing hanging out here, or what's your problem, than she's ever had in her whole life.
Oh, really?
Just because people just kind of assume that about me. Yeah.
Well, now that's interesting.
Like I just walk up and I got some problem with somebody.
Because this is no, seriously, John, because this is something that I hear from black people all the time. I'm not talking about these screaming liberals. I'm talking about just normal black dudes that they, driving while black, that they get pulled over all the time. They don't necessarily have a problem. It's just the cops pull them over and stuff. And I'm kind of curious what the reality of that is, because for me, when I came over here to Japan in the beginning for the first 3-4 years, the cops pulled me over all the time. Constantly pull me over. Always ask me the same dumb questions. Where you come from? Where you going? Where do you live? Where do you work? And they know the answer. They knew the answer the first time they pulled me over. They know this little town. They know exactly who I am. But for years, they pulled me over asking me those same damn stupid questions. So I've experienced it myself. Is this a reality, or are they just overhyping it? Maybe they're just speeders or something.
It's a reality, but it's
both.
It is a reality. But it's also nonsense at the same time. If I can try to explain a little bit, like for instance, I get talked to by cops a lot, and number one, it's because I'm driving. Essentially, every day of my waking life, I'm driving. I'm either driving to work, I'm driving at work, or I'm driving home and sleeping. And I get talked to cops a lot. and they do interact with me different because not only because I am dark, because when you're dark, you also look more intimidating.
That's true.
So they treat you different. They treat you a little bit like it's almost as if like somebody like a woman cop who's 5'2" pulls me over. If there's any sort of kind of inkling that there might be trouble, she's gonna go to the most force that she can because she's not gonna be able to de-escalate me in reality. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So you have to. So yes, you do. And because the thing is, everywhere around the world, and this is not really in dispute. Everywhere around the world, people that are black are looked down upon.
No, that's fair. That is fair.
And people that are darker are looked down upon even by the same race as, if you're Mexican, but you're a dark Mexican, oh, you're a pobrecito, you're a poor guy. Look how dark your baby is, Oh, and if you're in a telenovela, you get the acting job as the servant.
Spanish sounds so good coming out of John Dillard.
I know, it's beautiful, isn't it?
It's that deep voice.
It's a very, very true statement, though. All over the world, the darker you are, the less automatic. I don't want to use the word privilege, but acknowledgement you get.
It's mistrust.
It is, yeah.
Well, part of that,
you stand out when you're dark, and not only that, it's because I'm also a man and I'm also bigger. It's also because of that. And but at the same time, it's reasonable because if I were to pull somebody over, like let's say for instance, you've seen that movie Pain and Gain with The Rock and Mark Wahlberg.
It's hilarious, yeah.
You've seen The Rock when he goes into that little stand at the hotel and he pulls out a baseball bat and he breaks the register. It's like, what do you do with somebody like that?
Yeah.
You're looking at somebody who's 6'4", 300 pounds of muscle with a baseball bat. There's no, hey, let's talk about this first. You know what I mean? But the thing is, people are terrified of black people. They are. Yeah. So they automatically, and that's racist. To just be terrified of somebody because they're black is racist. But they are.
It is racial profiling. So, I mean, but here's the thing. How do we go about dealing with that, you think, John?
I don't know. I was talking about that earlier with my wife. I don't know. We were talking about not the actual systemic racism, but cultural racism.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are different kind of racism. Clearly, they are. Prejudices are real, right? Like I've mentioned with myself. I mean, mine is the prejudice I've dealt with a lot in my life is because I'm white, right? And some of it is because I'm American, right?
Well, Chester, then there you go. How did you get past it?
How did I get past it? I just kept my patience.
Exactly.
Yeah, I didn't get angry because I understood what they were.
You cannot overcome people's natural instincts, and they are natural instincts, and they come from very ancient times, long before we were probably even humans. When we see something dark, it's frightening to some degree. It's evolutionarily we respond that way. We still do, even as humans. If you're in darkness, your senses are lowered, so you're on high alert. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what it is. It's the same kind of fear. You see a person that's really dark. No, not always. I'm not saying you go into like fight or flight just by seeing them. Some people might, but I don't. Mm-hmm. But that instinct's still there. It's the same response. However, we can't get rid of that. There's just no way to do it. You're never going to beat that form of racism because all it is it's just pattern recognition instinct triggering in your lizard brain, causing you to react. That's all it's doing. That's it. That's why it happens everywhere. If it was just a cultural problem, it would only happen in one cultures, right? Certain cultures. But it happens literally to every culture all over the world. Mm. There's a reason for that. That means it's something in our genetics and our makeup that makes us people.
Well, it's also
how do we beat that? How do you actually solve that problem? Well, you don't solve that problem by saying white people have a disease and need to be cured. That doesn't solve it. What you do is you realize that basically what you're arguing with is the rain.
Yeah, I saw that too.
What you do is you realize basically what you're arguing with is the rain. Well, what happens when it rains? Do you get mad that it's raining? Not usually. You get mad when you get soaked by the rain.
When it rains, motherfuckers get wet.
Exactly. Right. So you need to build umbrellas that stop people from getting wet, or canopies that stop people from getting wet. This idea that you're going to fix racism, at least that kind of racism, you're not. It's never going to happen. People might not talk about it anymore. Maybe that'll happen. But the instinctual reaction to seeing something, like just like looking at titties. Everybody likes titties. We look at them. We
Yeah.
can't help it.
Yeah.
It just happens.
Women even
It's
like
the same. It's the same thing in our lizard brains back there. That's just telling us, "Hey, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this." It's just how it is. It's how all humans are,
yeah.
and
Well,
it's not going to
because we
go away
suckle
just
on them.
because.
It's not true, Rosie. I don't like any other titties but yours.
There you go, Rosie. There you go. But another thing that helped me get past those kind of problems is also the fact that I am incredibly cute and endearing, Thundera.
Well, yeah, that helps. Yeah, being attractive helps everything. Period.
That's your privilege. That's your
That's
Not a
right.
cross bear
6'4"
gesture. We all have
teddy
It
bear
is.
with
It is my
teeth and
cross
claws.
bear.
He's cute.
I am cute. Yeah. My
Well, that
wife-
also helps.
He's an
inti-
albino teddy bear.
But
though.
I am.
He's intimidating because he's a big guy. So even if people
That's
have
true.
those reactions, they're not going to. Most of them aren't
Oh
going to say
no, they
anything.
never brought it to my door. That's true.
Yeah.
But my wife actually calls me a bachan magnet. Bachan's middle-aged
Oh.
woman. Yeah. So,
I've pretty much been that my whole life. I don't know
yeah.
why.
Yeah, no, they like it. The reason we went to Nagasaki this weekend was to finally meet my son's girlfriend, who he's been dating for almost 3 years, and she's a nice girl, very cute girl, very sweet, studious, all those kind of. She was a good catch, I guess. But she was actually complaining that he has that same magic that I have because he'll say, "Oh, I'm kind of hungry" or something like that, and all the old ladies around him just rush food to him, right? I get that a lot too. I get a lot of free food coming in the house. But anyway, we all we all bleach our skin. Problem solved. That's not a bad idea, Ray. Let's do that. It's kind of like the when you see those movies that have ash and some explosion or something has happened and everyone's covered in ash and it's obviously showing that look we all can look alike. We can all get along. It's only skin deep. That kind of Hollywoodism. But yeah, I say we started hashtag bleach all skin. How's that? Would you go for that, John? Would you be a bleacher?
Whitewash the entire
I
world.
would rather just all. Why do we all go blackface? That'd be better.
Yeah, but that would be more expensive, John.
Then at night we'd be bumping into each other. It'd be annoying.
It would be. Yeah.
Oh my god! No wonder he had to work his whole life.
Right. But it is
Right,
funny though,
it's the struggle.
this conversation is interesting though because I don't know how to deal with that because there is some innate part of us that has nothing to do with culture at all. That certainly is more fearful and less accepting of the darker than the lighter, even within those same communities. The point you made about the black community or the Latino community is very true. It's the same in India. It's the same here in Japan. This isn't a.
That's true. I don't lie to you.
I know, dude. Thank you. But no, here in Japan's a good point. Like my wife, for instance, give an example. She is slightly darker, I guess, than the average Japanese, which I just think she's cute. I didn't really think about it whatsoever. But when she was little, her aunties and stuff were really concerned whether she was ever going to find a man because she was so dark skinned. There's no shit. There's no bullshit. This has nothing to do with black people at all. This is just inside Japan, which you don't get much more homogenous than Japan. Understand that.
No,
99% of Japan is Japanese.
Yeah, that's
Right.
about as homogenous as you're going to get right
Yeah.
there.
But yet they look at it that way too. And understand there are lots of Japanese running around here that are more white than any white person you're going to find. Right? They're
Yeah.
super white. But if you're dark or slightly darker, you are at a disadvantage here in Japan because you're not considered as beautiful. So it's a fair point, John. Fair point.
Mhm.
But we're supposed to be talking about death cults. But I did I did have a question because where I grew up, I used to go hunting in an area where we had plenty of Amish and stuff. But where I grew up, we actually had this group
Ew.
called Mennonites. You guys ever heard of the Mennonites?
Mennonites.
Yeah, Mennonites, Mennonites, I don't know what they're called. But they were running around, and people always kind of looked at them as a cult. Whereas I always saw them more as kind of Christian extremist, to be honest, like fundamentalists. But I grew up around a lot of these people, and I always thought they were pretty nice, but some people
Yeah.
in my home area held very, very negative views of them. And I'm
Really? Because
yes,
Yeah, we have
everyone
the
I've
same
ever met
group
is
here in Southern
nice.
California called the Apostolics. The people in the Apostolic Church are almost the exact same way. And we actually have a cousin named Aide, and this was really interesting because she actually ended up leaving her husband um, over the church because she got caught cheating on him, and
ooh,
because the church wouldn't believe her, like she had to divorce her husband and like join the women's group for like a year just to not be told you can't come here no more.
wow. Well,
She
I
did
mean
that
that might keep
because
you from cheating.
she needed that infrastructure in her life because that essentially is their, especially these old women that go to church, they catch a ride with the pastor on the way. That is their entire life, that fellowship in the church.
Mhm.
There's nothing else. So I can see how, you might be tempted to say, I'm with this church and that's it. And if they decide they're all going to shuffle off the mortal coil, then that's the way it has to be.
So she was willing to prostitute herself in order to stay within the religion.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. And maybe that's a lot
My
of it.
buddy,
Go
my
ahead.
buddy was the same way. He had some questions. He was part of the Jehovah's Witnesses, and he didn't really 100% wasn't on board with it, and they kicked him out real fast. He had to leave his home. He lived with us for about 3 years until his mom stopped going to that church too. Then he was allowed back in the house.
Huh. Interesting. And now, so what we're looking at is far more established cults. When we talk about Jehovah Witnesses, they're far more established. But with these ones like Heaven's Gate and many of the other ones, um, they are a very small organization. But with the Heaven's Gate, it was 39 dead, right? I mean, that's not a small number, really. Whereas, of course, Jonestown was far
Do you
more.
think that any of this has to do with mental illness?
Yes.
I was kind of getting to that. Yeah, I think that
Because I got this little cult that I'm a part of called the Cult of Raven. All right,
right.
and it's a joke cult if you couldn't tell, but we they it attracts some people that aren't exactly 100% there.
Yeah.
Well,
And some of these people that come to the cult, in one instance already, we've had one instance of somebody coming in and being real creepy and doing creepy things, and had to kick them out. And they're in because they were embedded in everybody's DMs and he's still not 100% gone. He's still hanging around like a spider. But the
I
thing
see.
is, this person's out there commissioning artwork of Raven, dressing up in cosplay as this is a fake cult. This is not even a real cult.
Right.
But
Well,
spending lots
would
of
you
money
would you consider
for acceptance.
Comicsgate to be a cult?
Well, yeah, I would consider some aspects of it, not the one that I adhere to.
Well, not here. We're not cultish at all. But how about the cult of the Butter King?
How dare you?
No, I wouldn't actually.
How
No?
dare you?
Speaking of a cult,
Well, no, that's fair enough. Fair enough.
But now the thing is, I know that there are some people out there that are, and the thing is, you kind of get that feeling when they come around. You kind of already know,
Yeah.
like, oh, there's something a little bit off. And I'm sure that there are those people in Ethan's crew. I mean, not crew, but the real close people, the people that are there, the devotees, the faithful.
Mhm.
There's some of them. There's got to be. There has to be. There's faithful in people that watch my lousy little show.
Well, no, of
Of
course
course,
are.
there would be an Ethan show,
Of course there would be.
but I
But
don't think. And the thing is, I watch because I like this YouTube stuff and I would like to get better at it. And I watch many things about how to start a cult, how to influence people, what words to use, which
Sure.
things to avoid.
useful.
And
Useful.
I'm not seeing any of those things exhibited by Ethan. So that's why I say, probably not. I could
Yeah,
be
no,
wrong.
no.
I've been wrong once or twice.
Well, no,
Well,
I want. Go ahead, Thunder.
the other thing, completely away from Mr. Van Skyver, because I don't particularly care if he runs his own little cult or not. But another great example of not really a suicide cult, but definitely a death cult, was the Manson family,
Oh yeah,
because they quite literally killed people.
yeah.
So I think a lot of it is mental illness. Definitely, Charles was obviously not mentally stable, but he was very charismatic, and he had this magnetism about him whenever he would talk or
Yeah,
just
but
do interviews and stuff.
was he though? See, that's the point I wanted to get to here at the end because I want to bring up the mental illness, and I want to bring up the charisma factor because I've seen Charles Manson's interviews, and I saw a lot of Marshall Applewhite's interview stuff and his talking as well. Since we're talking about Heaven's Gate specifically, and
Hmm.
those guys are loony losers from my point of view. I would have laughed them out the room. I would have never
Well,
took them
Chester,
seriously.
are you an insecure woman
Hey, I
or a
got
young
both
woman?
balls. Thank you very much, there, Thundero.
That's a loaded question.
That's my point, though. You notice a lot of his group were young, insecure women.
These guys always have to find their personal, private demographic
Yeah.
that they prey upon.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, and you could probably say that about Joseph Smith, or I mean, whatever. They found people that the message resonated with who they were talking with, and those that didn't, yeah, they excise those really fast and get them away from the group because that's just gonna mess with the dynamic.
Slick, where do they keep the golden discs that Gabriel gave to Smith anyway?
Keep them in heaven according to the accounts.
They keep them in heaven, but
Yeah.
it was an earthly gift from God.
Yeah, and then the angel Moroni, the angel you see on top of our temples, he was the one who directed Joseph Smith where to dig those up in
Oh, that's right.
upstate New
Gabriel
York.
was the Muslim.
And then
Yeah.
Moroni came back and took them home when Joseph was done with them. That's the official
Canon. I
yeah.
see. Well,
Whether you believe in it or not, that's up to you.
yeah, I
But the
just
thing
think
is,
it's
if
cool.
you guys are Christians, you don't have
Yeah.
a whole lot of stuff to stand on. There's
not
a
at all.
lot
Not
of
at
gaps
all.
in that shit too.
As long as we can all agree that there's some aspects of our religions that are absolutely ridiculous.
Yes,
we're all good.
There's a lot of religion. All of the standard religions have lots of what would be quote unquote mythology to any other religion because of the way they're couched and how you believe it. I mean, Christians believe in an immaculate birth. All right, that's most ask.
Dude, dozens and dozens of religions have that same damn story.
Well, again, but what I'm saying is that again, if you stand off as if you got an atheist, they're going to go immaculate birth, right?
Yeah.
That was a way for a young girl to get out of a problem she got herself into.
Fair enough.
Like the magic sperm bullet during the Civil War.
Here we go. Now we can talk about the death cult I'm really interested in, the cult of Booster, because this
I
guy.
just heard magic sperm bullet.
Yes,
Yeah,
you did.
we-
Perfect
we
timing.
were
there.
waiting for.
That was literally
we
the
know
only
you
words I
collect
heard
those in your
as I
backside,
came
bud.
in. I want to talk about that for half an hour.
It was a story. It was a story that a young girl came up with that, the bullet must have passed through the testicles of a soldier, collected sperm, and then hit her in her, uterus area. And that's got to be how she got pregnant because she certainly didn't sleep with any of the soldiers.
Or
I
even.
I can deal with that. Yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah.
But
That's what I was bringing up with the mental illness because you know how they have that old saying, that certain types of people are the doers. They're not the people that are the bureaucrats. They're the A-type personalities, the ones that are going to go out there and get the top positions. And when they do get the top positions, those A-type personalities, what they want to do is they want to get more and more rich. And of course they are, because that's their personality. And those are the people that end up at the top. So the people that end up in these cults are going to be the people that have that particular type of mental illness.
Sure, and I guess you could say that there are different kinds of mental illness. But, on this conversation, listening to interviews with this Applewhite and his people, I saw a lot of what I thought was mental illness, and I've seen it in other people too. You can't tell me that Charles Manson's not a crazy bastard. You can't. You're not going to convince me. But I also noticed yesterday when I was watching those Karen videos, John, I saw a lot of mentally unstable people, and I really was wondering, why aren't they institutionalized? Because they're clearly out their damn mind, dude.
because a lot of our
It's very
institutions are gone
difficult to prove somebody is mentally ill.
Dude,
to
when
that
you're
It
to
is.
that
It's just
degree.
like when you have to when you have like it's like when you're trying to convince somebody that somebody is being emotionally abused. It's almost impossible to prove unless there's some big humongous scene, you know. So that's a lot of that stuff never gets addressed, and a lot of people are embarrassed to even take their kid to a to see someone that their kid is actually, you know, might be mentally handicapped or damaged in some way. It just a lot of it gets ignored.
yeah, but John,
I
when you
think my
see
kid might be retarded. How do you know? Because he sits there eating bugs and goes, "Diet."
that, there you go, Booster. I'm glad they fixed you, buddy. But I, but John, when you have some absolutely incredibly rotund woman walking up to the drive-through window, walking up to it, and yelling at the
But naked,
window because she didn't get what she's on her receipt until they proved that she didn't actually order it, that person's off their shit, John. That's
I
crazy.
agree.
Yeah.
Hmm. And a lot of that stuff, they because you know people like to classify these things, and a lot of that stuff they classify under the term borderline, which means you can't do anything about it.
Being kind of like how Booster is borderline homosexual.
Yes, borderline.
Well,
But there we go. There we go. God, I thought that would have
you're
been
being
funnier.
generous.
Thank you.
But
There you go.
Chester, I can actually answer why they're not in institutions. They're gone. The institutions were shut down in the
I
'80s by
know.
good old Reagan.
That was a pass.
Reagan,
Thunder.
that damn bastard Reagan, threw
Yep.
all them crazies out into the street.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I don't understand why they did that. I really don't, because they clearly
Dude, my
served
mom,
a
who's a
purpose.
mental health worker, is like has been on a constant crusade. She for the past 40 years.
Really? Well, she's not wrong, dude. They served a purpose. And I mean, because from what I understand, most people in the past who went to mental institutions didn't stay for very long. They just
Correct.
kind of had a breakdown and they needed some peace and space. And that kind of place made it available to them, with actually trained people, unlike these
Well,
safe
we still
spaces
have that.
today.
That's the whole point of the 32 hour hold.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We still have temporary like they call them mental hospitals or mental facilities or whatever. But we don't have as many. We still have some. We just don't have as
Cop will
many.
pick somebody up that's causing a ruckus. They'll take them to this facility. They'll hold them for 32 hours. They'll usually get over whatever they're going through, and then they get released.
But we don't have at least not as many long-term mental hospitals asylums basically.
Yeah.
That we need.
That's true, and also it's very difficult, even with like Medi-Cal, Medicaid, because most of the people that are that deranged are usually not working, and they're dependent on the state. It's even with like Medi, it's still really difficult to get admitted into a long-term facility, and that stuff has a long waiting list too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Robot Mechanic here says, as far as asylums, also some of those people are on drugs. I'd imagine a lot of them are. But I guess we self-medicate sometimes. But I just, it's really shocking to me how many people that clearly need help and no one's helping them. And I'm not talking about these silly kids running around screaming and stuff, but in a sense, it also touches on that. I saw this one video, this girl, right, and I thought it was hilarious. My wife didn't care for it, I guess. But anyway, she's in this little Volkswagen Bug, and she keeps driving by I don't know, a Second Amendment rally or something. It was something she didn't approve of, and she kept driving by over and over and over and over, and she driving by, flipping the bird and saying "F Donald Trump" over and over and over and over and over. And finally, the last time she did, some guy spit at the car, and she went over and parked. She called the cops. She made a big scene for like an hour, and she was literally hyperventilating. It's like you put yourself in the position, you're the one who is being hateful, no one was bugging you at all, but yet she's hyperventilating. And we see a lot of this. I saw another video of a young girl who was going up and putting this balloon in this cop's face, being a little shit, right? And he swatted it away and it popped, and she instantly started crying like she had just been hit with a freaking baseball bat, right? We see a lot of these people. Now, I'm not calling that full on mental illness, but there's clearly something wrong, man.
Yeah, they're women.
I think that's more along the lines of like a plant or an actor.
Yeah, that's just them trying to start shit any way they can.
Yeah,
They
maybe.
did
Did it during the Mexican March. That big Mexican March. There was a whole bunch of. It was a 100% peaceful. There was no incidents whatsoever. But they tried to start it, and the people that tried to start it was the what are those black guys that wear bow ties? They started driving their car through the crowd backwards.
La
They were
Raza?
trying to get people. Oh, the black guys.
Oh, the black guy.
They wear bow ties that are like the color like
Bow
African
ties?
colors.
They're
of
probably
that.
Malcolm Xers or something like that. Yeah,
Something like that. They're trying to get some stuff riled up.
yeah, I see. No,
Nation
okay,
of
they could be doing
Islam. Nation of Islam.
They might be Nation of Islam. Yeah, they do
Yes,
that.
that's what it was. The Nation of Islam. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I get your point saying of planet actors, and we've seen that. We've seen examples of the same people at the same scene and all around the world. They
Like
travel
that
these
crazy
people around.
bald idiot that went up to a police line in riot gear trying to talk to them. Got pushed backwards.
Oh, that
Yeah.
that
I don't know
old
what-
guy. Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with these people. The
Yeah.
crazy whiteheads.
There you go, Nation of Islam. Yeah. But anyway, we've certainly come to the end of the show. I don't know if we actually met our goal today. Did we meet our goal today? I don't think so.
I assume you talked about the was it
The
Jones
Heaven's
Tower?
Gate. We did talk about it, kinda. but
Should
we
ask
have-
the audience whether or not they feel like their questions
You're-
when they saw this stream and they clicked on it. Are they satisfied with the answers they got today?
Yeah, we didn't really cover it directly. We kept getting derailed by other things. But to be
That's you.
fair,
That's what you do.
I know I do. It's my fault. But to be fair, though, a lot of what we're seeing these days is cultish behavior. It really
Correct.
is. And and seeing as we're seeing people starting to die, and I'm assuming we're going to see more of it. This whole death thing is coming into it, and we've certainly seen some of them suicidal as well. Evan Hotep says, "Hell no." Okay, sorry, Evan. Curious TA 2A says, "I want a refund." I'll get Booster right on.
I have a question for Evan Hotep. Is he actually a Hotep, or does he just think that sounds cool?
I
Because
think it sounds cool. I am.
That's a real thing, Hoteps. I didn't know if he was appropriating their culture or what.
No, oh right, that whole cultural appropriation thing is hilarious. But because it's a stupid thing. But if I ever become a god, Evan, I will call myself Zanusen Ra. So you got
I like it.
you got competition coming, brother.
Such a cooler name than Jesus. Wow.
What
No,
Zanusen Ra is
we
badass.
We
Dude.
got, we got your planets for you.
Thank you.
Come on.
Thank you. Eric Hawkins says we are already aware of Chester has
I
ADHD.
like that.
Do I? I wonder if I do.
It's a Mormon. It's like a Mormon sales pitch.
You want to be a
Oh,
god?
that's our goal is godhood. Like every other religion, except maybe the Buddhists.
Is your
Yeah,
religion
it's all
not
just
doing
like,
it
you
for
know,
you? Why don't
it's
you
just-
try
it's just
Mormonism? You get your own
fappery.
planet.
Well, what are you gonna
Look at
do as
this
a
thing. Look at this
Catholic?
bad boy. Look at this planet.
What are you gonna do as a Catholic? You're gonna go back and you're gonna be, an asexual like little cherub playing a harp for the
What are you gonna do?
choirs
Not have
of
sex
heaven
forever in the
and
clouds? That sucks. Have
constantly
your own
praising God for eternity because he's a huge narcissist. Why did he create you in the first place?
planet.
Fair enough.
I like it. I'm
There's just
I'm-
one
I'm-
catch, though, everybody. There's just one catch. You got to wear really cringy underwear.
This is
I'm
true.
out. I'm out.
Oh, yeah, that's a
Fair
deal
enough.
breaker.
All right,
Yeah.
guys. Well, I got to shut it down because I
Big
got to get into the city and get
cults.
to work for my day. But interesting conversations. Certainly, there's a lot going on in our world today. Definitely stay safe out there, and have fun. I was really happy to see so many, comments and stuff from my family and friends of people having barbecues and just having a good time on the 4th of July. There were certainly some people that tried to ruin it, but in general, everyone had a good time, and that's awesome. No, we didn't talk about Brie Larson, and no, there is no relation. Thank you very much, Nick. But anyway, let's go around the board and have everybody give their closing statements, and we'll get out of here. Go ahead, Booster.
Oh, me, I'm Booster Kiwi. I'm Booster Kiwi on the YouTube, on the Twitter. If you go to my channel, I have a shit ton of content now. Especially if you go to the playlist section, it's just mostly me playing Resident Evil. And I even have things to sell for actually on Kickstarter. The Booster Kiwi limited variant cover for White Lily issue 5. It's beautiful. It's the most gorgeous thing you'll ever see. You should buy it because it might fail, and I'm scared.
There you go. And lesbians on planes, indeed. Sweet. John?
My.
Well, I would say as a my final thought is that there's a whole bunch of things out there, and there's a lot of things you don't know, and there's a lot of aspects to a lot of different religions and ways of thinking that are foreign and new to you, and you learn stuff. You learn stuff every day. I learned some stuff today, and you got to keep an open mind. With that being said, I just launched the pre-campaign for the epic book, the only good book to ever come out of Comicsgate, The Buckler. So head on over to Indiegogo and sign up, and you get a free sticker.
A free sticker. Very nice.
I'm doing that right now.
The Buckler on Indiegogo.
Yeah, no. Definitely check out The Buckler on Indiegogo. We've seen a lot of pages over here, guys, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. I think it's some of your finest work, John.
As far as I know, it's his own good work.
There we go. All right, cool.
I'm sharing a screen.
All right, well,
the Buckler's returning home to Winnipeg after his adventures in the Arctic Circle, and the girls are happy to see him, but he's busy. He says, "Baby, I'm busy. I got work to do today."
You guys have fat titties.
So I don't know
Yes.
which one do you prefer, Booster? The one on the left or the one on the right?
Left.
Left.
I want monster titties.
You chubby
across my
chaser.
face.
I kind of like the one on the right better. Yeah.
You can have her. I'll have the other one. That's
I like the one on the right, but I'll take both.
Yeah.
Well, of course you would. You're Mormon.
That's
That's
right.
true. That's true. I
That's
don't know
another
what
perk.
Booster's talking about anyway.
I'm
He
just
wants
full
the
of
one on
shit,
the
but I don't
bottom.
have one.
Oof.
Well, yeah, that's because I am the one on the bottom.
True. Fair enough.
Gotcha.
Ooh, we got
I'm
a
working
little
on.
butt
I'm
action.
working on the coloring.
Ah, looks
By
great, dude.
which I mean I'm getting ass rammed.
Yes, we got that.
wasn't clear.
Thank you very much, Booster. Thank you.
Well,
All
he's
right,
working on the right book.
Booster always likes a boost in the booty.
he does. All right, so let's move on here to Slick.
Yes, I'm Slick Jimmy. You can find me at Slick Jimmy Speaks on YouTube. We're gonna have another 2 weeks. I've been off on hiatus. We'll have a cheesecake challenge tomorrow night, and hopefully that'll turn out well. And you can also find me at Slick Jimmy Love on Twitter. I also have I have a comic still trying to be finished, but it is on Indiegogo. If you want to go look it up, Little Girl Lethal, it'll be there for probably a short time still. So there you go. Bye bye.
Sweet. Thank you very much, Slick. And Thundero's going to take it out.
I'm going to take it out. I'm going to take all of it out.
Mhm.
One of my points I was making, because we were talking about racism a little bit, I want to touch on that real quick, and then we'll get out of here. The solution, the umbrella to build for the rain that is cognitive bias, is virtue. Be good people. That's all you got to do. Integrity is the most important attribute of human civilization. Without it, it all goes away. Doesn't matter what rules we have, doesn't matter how big our weapons are, how much money we have. As soon as everybody loses that just basic integrity, that's it. So be good people, and I think you'll probably be okay.
Probably. Yeah. Namaste. All right, guys.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Bye.
Later.
Goodbye.